Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 160 of Games My Mom Found. I am the Lale Lule Lo, Mike Albertin, and who is with me tonight?
I am Joe Butler, and you can't expect love to find you. You have to go out there and find it yourself.
And hey, I'm Gaseous Marmot, Carew Seta.
I'm Blair, Farrell, and Mike, do you know what day it is tomorrow? I'll keep asking throughout the episode until you give me an answer.
It was just a Tuesday for me.
When Bison enter your world?
Yes. Only good line from that movie. And Blair,
Sounds
where can
like
people find you at?
Sounds like you need to rewatch Street Fighter movie because that movie's a banger. You can find my work at comicbookvideogames.com, which just turned 10 years old this past Thursday.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I forgot to say I'm Carew Seta on Twitch, KEROOSETA. I got like 5 TikToks now, too, so I'm one of the kids.
Awesome.
I hate TikTok.
Yeah.
My wife listens to it all the time. We'll be driving in the car, and all of a sudden I just hear like, "Rah, what the?" I'm like, yeah, I understand.
Got to get that algorithm.
I should have a TikTok for this show. I haven't done it yet.
Twitch doesn't have discoverability, so you gotta get on the other social medias.
All right, and we are all here to talk about a very special game, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, that developed by Konami, published by Konami, and came out in 2001. And what version did we all play? Is what I should start with. I played the PS2 version, not a PS2.
Yeah, PS2 Sons of Liberty edition here.
I also played the PS2 version, technically.
Okay, just like me.
I own the Metal Gear Solid 2 Subsistence and the HD collection on 360 and PS3. I played the HD collection on PS3.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Did you play it on a PS3?
Yes.
Very cool. I cheated. I played on a PC so I could have save states.
Same.
When Mike brought up that he was looking for people, I was at a store and I was like, I'm going to proactively buy this just in case, as I still have my PS3 hooked up.
Nice.
And then fortune favored the bull.
I really wanted to play it on my PS5, but they took the HD collection off the PSN store a while back.
Like a month ago, right?
Yeah, like in November, I think.
Wow.
Wait, it was playable on PS4?
I think it was. I think it was one of the PS3 games you could buy on PS4. I don't know.
It might have been on PS Now.
Yeah.
Konami.
My PS5 is my first PlayStation since the PS2, so.
By the way, I don't know if you guys knew either. It's not today, but this is the year. It is the 35th anniversary of Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear?
Oh, Metal Gear.
Yeah.
I'll say.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid. Wait a second.
I'm not that old. I was in high school when Metal Gear Solid came out.
Yeah, same.
Okay, yeah, Metal Gear. The MSX version or the NES?
I'm not entirely sure.
I guess it probably the MSX, so that's the first one. That's awesome.
Yeah, I would say MSX. So I have a funny story first with this game. Well, sort of, with Substance. When I had bought Substance a long time ago, back when it came out, but when I bought it from GameStop, I didn't have the case. They just had the generic case. And somehow my buddy's mother found the case of Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance PS2 on the ground and then gave it to him, just the case. And then I'm like, oh, hey, I got a case now. I still have that case. And I just remembered that all of a sudden. I'm like, it's really random. I buy a game without a case and then just find a case on the ground. That was my story.
Yeah, I bought this game. I only got into the Metal Gear series maybe 4 years ago. And so I bought this at a used game store back then. And but this then just now playing through it for this podcast. So
I'm impressed that we got someone to play it for the first time.
Yeah, well, I had started it 3 or 4 years ago, and I got maybe I thought I was 20 hours in, and then my save file said I was 5 hours in. So and then I had just left it, and then I just picked it back up where I left off, which was difficult.
Yes, I wouldn't recommend that.
So did you know about the bait and switch?
I knew that much. I did not know the rest of the story.
That's okay.
So
no one does.
I'm excited to talk about it. I was actually very surprised by how things went.
I don't care who you are. I love Raiden. He's one of my favorite Metal Gear Solid characters.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I'm looking forward to Revengeance. I have that for the 360.
Oh,
good
Revengeance.
I got my 360 set up in my living room and everything. So,
see, that's a game I bought, I think, twice. And I just can't understand the mechanics. I just find it so clumsy. I couldn't get past the first area without dying, and then I just throw in the towel.
Is it more of a? It's more of like a Devil May Cry kind of game, right? Like
it's a platinum-ass platinum game.
Yeah. See, the only one of those I've ever played is Bayonetta, and I just played. I like built Bayonetta up in my mind for years. It's like, oh, this is supposed to be the most amazing game ever, and I started playing it, and I was like, this is fine. I don't get what the fuss is about, but cool.
That's kind of how Rising is. It's very actiony. I played it once and I beat it. I just remember the final boss fight being ridiculously long and annoying. But
I think that playing like hundreds of hours of Dark Souls over the last year has kind of ruined me for combat games that don't have really boiled down action. Nothing
does like Dark Souls.
Yeah, I played Bayonetta and Nier Automata both, and I was like, oh, this is just button mashing compared to. But
the first thing I want to talk about is how much this game itself, especially going back and replaying it for the show, I realize how much of a meme this game is to itself and everything else. Like, we'll get more into that later, but just like the biggest fuck you also to the audience, like that's what this game is. Like, it starts off, for those that remember, like back then, all the trailers, everything you saw, the demo, everything was Solid Snake. Solid Snake's on the cover. There is no hint of anybody else in the back of the box, just Solid Snake.
He's on the cover, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's on the cover. He's on the back of the box. He was in all the trailers. He was in all the advertisements. Nothing showed anything but Snake when this game came out.
Love it. I love anytime entitled fans get a finger in their eye by an auteur director. I'm like, hell yes.
Specifically Kojima, he's known for just pulling like silly shit all the time, and I love it.
Yep. I wish that I could erase from my mind that twist so that it could have surprised me.
Yeah, that's the same thing for me, because when this game came out, it was 2001, and PlayStation 2, I think, was still $400-$500 here in Canada, and it was my last year of high school, and I was like, I cannot afford this machine, and I couldn't afford one until I think they did the price drop the summer following 2002, and I was reading EGM religiously, like every piece of Metal Gear Solid 2 information I could find, and I just had to spoil it because I had no idea when I was going to get to play it, and I just had to read the reviews and the follow-up articles, and so I went in knowing that Ryan was going to be the main protagonist. But other than some of the voice work, which is a little bit cringy, I actually like controlling him because he's more of a fluid, like, ninja character as opposed to, like, Snake, who's kind of like a blunt instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even just, like, flipping downstairs is fun. Just, like, doing, like, a flip downstairs.
Cartwheels. Just cartwheel everywhere.
He's also a very pretty boy. I love how much of a pretty boy he is, as opposed to Snake. But you guys had that whole benefit. I believe like a decade younger than most of y'all. So I already knew, X-Play back in the day, even X-Play tried to explain what the hell the ending was, and they didn't do a very good job of it. Because even I still don't understand what the ending of this game is.
I don't either.
Oh, I think I got it.
I think I got it.
Well,
we'll get there eventually.
We get there, yeah. Like I said, I was a Nintendo fanboy growing up, and then PC gamer at the same time. So I got a PS2 when I got married. My father-in-law had 2 PS2 Slims, and he's like, I don't play these anymore. Here, you can have these. And that was like 2008. So that's when I got my first non-Nintendo system, was 2008, when I was in my 30s. So, oh no, I guess I was in my 20s. But anyway, so, and then, yeah, I started with Metal Gear Solid 3 and loved it, and then went back and bought Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 and Revengeance and 5 and Phantom, or whatever, the Ground Zeroes, all that stuff. And then I'm just slowly playing through them. So, but so many podcasts have talked about this, twist. It's so many like shows like X-Play, etc. So yeah, unfortunately had it ruined for me, but man, that would have been something. That would have been a trip.
It was. I didn't have this when it first came out. My buddy, he bought it because I didn't like stealth games at the time. I didn't like I had no interest in Metal Gear. He'd bought this. I remember him playing it and just being confused as hell when all of a sudden you go through the whole tanker mission of Snake and then Snake's gone. Snake doesn't come back. So I always remember that. I mean, it's just because you only really play a Snake for like what, a 2-hour mission or so at most.
At most,
it's like an hour.
It's really
what you're doing.
You got to stretch it to get it more than an hour. Yeah, I love it.
The story is also like confusing as hell in this game. Like because I had played Metal Gear 1 and 3 for this show. I played original Metal Gear 2, and they all make sense enough. This one, like, even though I played this game many times, I watched many things about it, like, I know the story, I still was just confused as hell. Like, it starts off, I think, 2 years or so many years after Metal Gear Solid 1, and all of a sudden now everybody's making Metal Gears, and then they board a tanker because they know Metal Gear, a new Metal Gear model is on here made by the Marines, and they're trying to stop it.
Yeah, and it's Snake and Otacon are like, they keep referring themselves as an NGO, a non-governmental organization, but they're basically, they're basically terrorists that the U.S. government is okay with.
Yeah, was it like the post-credit scene of, because I didn't realize the Metal Gear Solid 1 when I first finished it, which was, I came to Metal Gear Solid 1 in 1999. I never played Metal Gear on Nintendo. I just never interested me, either the box or whatever. And then when Metal Gear Solid 1 was coming out, it was like I didn't own a PlayStation. I was all about Ocarina of Time. I actually went and watched the original commercial that aired on TV for Metal Gear Solid, and there's nothing in there, if you can go back and find it, that would make you interested in this game. And then my brother got a PlayStation in 1999, and he turned it on, and I just saw this game, and it was framed like a movie with credits, and he ran up behind some guy and snapped his neck. And this was years of me playing like platformers and racing games, and like I just couldn't wait for him to go out with his friends because I just wanted to play this game. And then it would just turn into like an obsession. Like I wanted to get the action figures and reading all the everything in EGM, and I couldn't wait to play this. And then when it came out, it was like such a weird thing, but I was also fascinated by it. Like even when Metal Gear Solid 3 came out, I was kind of bummed at first that it was a prequel because I wanted to find out how they were going to work around the nonsense at the end of this game.
The answer to that is Metal Gear Solid 4.
Which they do work around a lot of nonsense.
The answer is nanomachines.
It really is nanomachines, but
it's all nanomachines.
I was the same boat. I was so excited for more story, and then we got a prequel, and I'm like, but I want to know what happened. And then the
prequel's the best game in the series.
Yeah,
it
by
really
a
is.
large margin.
I love 3. 3 is so good.
I hear Peace Walker's really good. I have it. I just haven't played it yet.
It's very Monster Hunter-y. I played it on PSP, and I remember getting hand cramps because it was so hard to play. Because it's essentially designed for co-op play, and if you play single player, it's kind of rough. But now I don't know what it's like if you play on, say, like the PS3 collection or the Vita collection, where you actually have like an actual controller. I just haven't had any desire to go back to those games. I played like when I played Portable Ops in 2006, that was a bit like the whole bite-sized mission with like capturing people wasn't really ever my scene. That's why I've kind of never gone and played 5. Like I don't have any desire to play like an open world Metal Gear game. I just think that sounds awful.
I want to play 5. But
yeah, I have 5. I need to play it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Same.
I wanted to play Peace Walker first, since 3, Peace Walker, and 5 are kind of a continuous story. But
is Portable Ops considered canon?
No? I don't know.
I think it's supposed to be VR training. Isn't it just like VR training?
No, it's an actual game.
Oh, I'm thinking of VR mission.
Yeah, VR missions for PlayStation 1 is just VR.
There was Portable Ops, and then there was Portable Ops Plus, and that was kind of what VR missions was to Metal Gear Solid 1. But I know at the time it was considered canon because it legit takes place not long after Snake Eater, and they reference it and Ocelot's in it. And I think there's another post-credit scene. I finished it, and then I never went back, and I don't even think I own it anymore, so I'm not an authority.
Yeah, Google says yes and no. So
yeah, that's what I got too.
There's a character in 5 that references things in Portable Ops, but that character wasn't in Portable Ops and would have no way to know about Portable Ops, and so.
Okay, best is semi-canon.
Yeah. All right then.
Okay, one day I want to play it.
Yes.
I think the reason why it's not canon, which is spoilers, like has everyone played besides 5? Has everyone else played every other Metal Gear game?
Not including handhelds. Yes.
Yeah, I played the Game Boy Color and Acid games, so yes.
I believe the main bad guy is supposed to be like Remember how like in 3 they refer to like the bosses in the end's child?
Yeah.
The main bad guy in that game, I think believes he's that child, but it's not him. It's Ocelot. So I think that's where it's canon and it's not.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I just
Yeah.
remember a
One day I'll play it.
character called Hot Coldman.
That's Peace Walker.
Oh, that's Peace Walker? Okay.
Yeah.
But that was the original Metal Gear.
No, it's Peace Walker. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, this series.
So Metal Gear Solid 2, like,
Yeah.
like Tanker is very well done. Like I didn't do this playthrough because I was in a hurry and I just didn't care. But you can shoot everything. You can shoot fruits off. You can shoot glasses. You can shoot bags. Like you can shoot everything.
Ice cubes.
And everything interacts. And it's such a like tech demo what the PS2 could do. And it's such a good little like the Tanker level is amazing. The amount of detail they put into this little level where you just run around a snake for an hour, fight one boss, and then have another fight with a bunch of guys, and then you are pretty much done.
Yeah, it has some really cool stuff in it.
We've all played Metal Gear Solid 4?
No. But
No?
I'm okay. You can spoil it.
I played it
no,
once, and I don't remember a lot of it.
I don't have a working PS3, so I'm never going to be able to play 4.
They might put it on PS5 now with them doing that whole PS3 backwards compatibility.
It'll be an NFT.
Don't say that. But that Olga boss fight in Metal Gear Solid 4, you meet Sunny, who is Olga's daughter.
Yes.
And she has a really bad stutter, and I have a firm belief that the reason why she has that stutter is because Snake injected and pumped a pregnant woman full of tranquilizer dart.
I mean, she is pregnant when you fire the Tanker.
Yeah.
And you only have the tranquilizer to shoot her with.
Yep.
You know, it would be Kojima to put something in there like that.
Yeah.
Okay. There's not a whole lot to the Tanker other than it's a super awesome piece of just showing off the tech of what it could do.
Yeah.
And it still looks great. Like, I was playing it on PS3, and I know it's like the Blue Point. I don't know if it was Blue Point or just their tech, but I mean, just going through it, like, this was such... You can easily see why, like, people like myself were hyped for this, because you look at Metal Gear Solid 1, and, like, I love kind of the artistic choices they made in that game, because you look at something like, not to throw a slide against Final Fantasy VII, because it's a classic and people love it, but it has, like, 4 different art styles. Like, you have Triangle Cloud, then Battle Cloud, and CG Cloud, and in Metal Gear Solid 1, everything is just one continuous look, so it never takes you out of the experience. But then, because of limitations of the PlayStation, people don't have faces and details, and you have Metal Gear Solid 2, where everything is just like, there's hair, and there's facial animations, and motion, and it all looks really great, and I'm shocked about how good it looked when I played it again.
It really does. This is the only, like, I rip all my PlayStation 1 and 2 games and play them on my computer just for ease. Yeah, and this is the only PS2 game I've emulated that my gaming PC had like trouble with at times.
Did it turn Fat Man into a black guy or anything?
No, I did not have the troubles or bonuses that you had.
I had shading issues where whenever the villain showed, it didn't do it for Pliskin, it didn't do it for Raiden, but for Fat Man, he was like much more darker than he should be. Vamp's face was normal, but everything below looked like it was darker. And then the best one was Ocelot. Whenever he's Ocelot, he was normal, but when he becomes Liquid Ocelot, spoiler alert, he ends up then turning all black.
Yeah.
You know, I think you cursed me, Mike, because I had that same issue.
Oh.
That's crazy.
It's something to do with the setting that I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, I had no shader issues, but I also had gone into my settings. I had looked up like the PC SX2 settings for Metal Gear Solid 2 and had set all my settings to that. So I didn't have those problems. My problem was during cutscenes, FPS would drop down to like anywhere between 15 and 30.
Oh, I didn't get that low. I did get lower though, but I also run things on the most minimum settings that I can just so it runs smoother because that's just me.
Yeah, and I should have, but like it was just the cutscenes. But the cutscenes, you'd like Revolver Ocelot would be like, "So Raiden," and eventually I was like, you know what I'm going to do, and I had like a full walkthrough on YouTube, and I would just fast forward and watch the cutscenes on YouTube, and then skip them in the game. So, yeah. But then anytime you are using the Stinger, the game became a slideshow, and it made all the fights where you use the Stinger missile way harder.
Oh, that's just 2 fights. It's fine.
Man.
Oh,
but like one of those is a Ray battle at the end. Like I just imagine how much of a nightmare that must have been.
Yeah,
I use it on Vamp too.
Yeah, I used it on Vamp and the President, and then the Metal Gear fight.
Oh, I guess no one else did a no lethal option except for me, although somehow I accidentally killed 7 people. I know I spin kicked one person off the deck of the boat by accident, just trying to knock him out. And then the game said I killed 7 people, and I was like, I don't know how. Like, I used tranks on everyone.
Those Metal Gear rays were people.
Yeah, I think he's right.
No, I don't.
Oh, you might be though.
Oh God,
it might be the way the game considered. I mean, they're not actually people, but it might be how the game puts it in there.
I don't think so, because the walkthrough that I was using for the cutscenes, they were doing a non-lethal, and they got the non-lethal. They were doing it on PS4, and they got the non-lethal trophy.
Oh, okay,
or
never mind then.
PS3. They got the non-lethal trophy, and they definitely destroyed all those Metal Gear rays in their
You don't have a
fight.
choice.
But don't you have to shoot a bunch of guys in the tanker?
You can trank them.
Yeah, that's I. The only time I think I use the pistol to knock over Fat Man and then trank him in the head. And other than that, I use the PSG-1T.
Nice.
And the Stinger missiles for the rays, and that's about it.
I'm not sure then.
And I definitely did not go non-lethal.
I didn't. I started to trank people in the tanker and in the, especially in the tanker I did, but in the plant I started to, but I got to a point where I'm just like, I don't care.
Well, when I started the game 4 years ago, and I was trying to do non-lethal and collect dog tags, and I got to the part where you're going around diffusing all the bombs as Raiden, and then I put it down for 4 years. And when I came back to it for this podcast, I was like, all right, I don't have time for this, and I was a murder machine for the rest of that game.
Well, since you brought up dog tags, I wanted to mention, like, one of the things about this game is you have collectibles. You have where you can go behind guards, stick them up, and then go in front of them, hold the gun in their face or at their balls, and they'll go, ah, and they'll shake dog tags off.
You do a little butt wiggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can sometimes get dog tags by like shaking their corpses or their unconscious bodies, but you're more likely to get them from the stick up thing.
Yeah, you can't. I think there's some you cannot get by doing. You don't get very many that way.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the game is to sneak up on people and get the dog tags that way. I mean, I remember doing it back in, because by getting all the dog tags, you unlock different stuff. You unlock different wigs that give you like unlimited air, unlimited ammo. I think is something you can get. Like there's different unlimited grip, just different things you can get in this game that I remember me and my friend did.
But it's for your second playthrough, right?
Yeah, we did for hours.
It's like
we had almost, because you have different dog tags in every single difficulty you have to go through if you really want to get crazy about it.
I'll say, because Metal Gear Solid 1 had some of that stuff to it.
Yeah, it's also like a primitive form of leaderboards, because when you finished it, you uploaded, like, you had a name or something, and you uploaded to like the Konami website, and I guess like that would determine like how long you took, how many rations you used, how many times you were seen, and you were given like a name depending on that.
Yeah,
it's a weird game. Weird way.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid
it makes sense.
Also,
it's much older.
I'll say Metal Gear Solid 1 also gives you like a code name based on different stats at the end.
Yeah.
But not with the website.
Hey, they had internet then. I mean, hey, they made a player's guide that was completely online.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Final Fantasy 9 guide. Oh, and the thing that I do want to talk about, or I should mention, is that the rest half of this game, or almost the 80 to 90% of this game, takes place on what's called the plant, which is this thing that was built to cover up the oil spill from the tanker that they keep blaming Solid Snake for blowing up. That, as you see when you play through the game, it was Ocelot, Liquid Ocelot, not Snake, but
I thought it was called Big Shell.
Yeah, you're right. It's called Big Shell. What did I call it? Okay. The shell?
The plant.
Oh, it is called Big Shell, but it's also called, I think, isn't it because of the plant when you look at it?
In the menu, because you can pick to do like tanker or tanker plant. As
okay.
Like, because you can replay whatever section you want, or I think in the PS3 version, they just start you off. It's just like you can play the tanker.
Same on the PS2.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
You can skip the entire tanker if you want and just do the plant or the Big Shell. I don't know why, but it's an option.
It's because I believe that demo was like super available to everyone. I want to say it came out in like PlayStation Magazine, and you could get it
in Zone Enders.
Yeah, it was March 2000.
So you keep finding all the cardboard boxes. A bunch of the cardboard boxes say ZOE on them,
which is a decent game, and a lot of people bought just because of this demo.
Yeah,
but it's just like there's little things that change. So like if you don't do the tanker mission when you start it, the text that the colonel will say to Raiden is a little bit different. There's a few little changes. Like Raiden won't say, "I did the tanker mission in VR." He won't say that if you don't do the tanker mission.
Interesting.
which is kind of hinting that the tanker mission you're doing, because at one point Snake says, "Oh, that tanker mission, I bet what you did wasn't what actually happened there." And then there's also shots that show you at one point that the tanker, like, of Snake doing the tanker that is not stuff that you did with guns that you don't have. So they're part of the theory is that the tanker you do as Snake is actually you doing Raiden VR, and that you never actually did the real tanker mission.
Yeah, and I think that's correct because later in the game, there's a reference to Metal Gear Solid 1 that Snake makes, and that he has the infinite ammo headband that you get for saving Meryl, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and he says that, but you don't have that when you play through the game, when you play through the tanker mission.
It's because I did the both, and he had it. So if you only did the plant, like, he doesn't say that?
Oh, no, I meant...
He says it no matter what.
Okay.
You play the tanker mission. When you're playing the tanker mission as Snake, you don't have infinite ammo.
True,
right?
yes, right.
So then that would indicate that the tanker mission is actually Raiden playing it in VR.
So
Possibly.
I also have this weird thing where, like, you can actually, like, all that, because there's I don't know what I'm talking about. There's really weird, like, you can see Snake running through hallways and water coming behind him. I actually do feel like Kojima made that part of the game, but it was way too buggy and, like, physically impossible to play, but he still put it in there because it's Kojima.
That's how I took it too. Like, it was stuff that was going to be in the game, but got cut for one reason or another, but it leads to the fuck with you, because this whole game is just a fuck with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything about this game. Raiden, because he's not as masculine as, like, Snake, you know, he's a much more feminine male. Like, everything they do, I think, was just to fuck with the audience.
Well, it was actually because I have the document in Metal Gear Solid 2. I don't have it where I'm living now, but I have it in my parents' house. And it shows, like, all the kind of when they did the photography for, like, the big shell and the tanker. That decision was made really early on. Because in Japan, I believe they actually spoiled that Snake was getting replaced, because in that region, like, a typical, like, 90s American action hero didn't sell very well. So they made a new character essentially to appease kind of the Japanese audience, because it's more palatable to have, like, a kind of pretty boy, slim ninja character than, like, Kurt Russell from Escape from New York.
Oh.
So, funny enough, my husband has watched me play most of my Metal Gear Solid games. And a couple years ago, we were watching TV and Escape to New York was on. And I put it on. And it was, like, right at the beginning. And it's the part where they're interesting Kurt Russell. He says his name, being Snake Plissken and everything. And he looks at me and he goes, "Is Metal Gear just one big ripoff?" I go, "Yeah, you didn't know that? Like, it's pretty much everything in this game is, like, not original to an extent. It's like callbacks to 80s movies and 90s movies and completely other movies too."
I mean, the opening of Escape from LA is like the SDV from Metal Gear Solid 1. Like, it's literally the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that was like Kojima's a big movie action, like 90s action movie fan or 80s action movie fan, you know? So.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's, you know, kind of well known that Michael Biehn was kind of like the actor that's on the cover of Metal Gear Solid 1 from, like, the future sections from Metal Gear rather.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's just he wanted to make a movie. So I mean, that's what he did in this game, really. I mean, like, this game, the cutscenes are so long this time. It wasn't, the gameplay is not enough in this game either when you get in the plant. Like, I like Raiden, but, like, when I was playing through this game and running around and fighting the few bosses that you have and everything, nothing, it was just, it wasn't as enjoyable. I'm like, there's so many codec calls and so many cutscenes. I'm just like, I like story, but I'm like, after playing 3, I'm like, this is just too much. And they're not even that great.
They said something about the reason why there were being a whole bunch of codec calls, and I don't know why. And I think that's something like the producers or Konami wanted, that they wanted more codec calls in the second game. God knows why.
Oh,
there's too many.
Well, when you think about, like, the kind of storytelling at that time, like when the PlayStation hit, it wouldn't be uncommon for jewel cases on the back to say a selling point would be 1 hour of recorded dialogue. And you know, like, going back to this, it's so, because, I mean, storytelling in games has come a long way when you have, like, stuff like, say, Dead Space, or even Half-Life in 1998, where everything is kind of in the environment in Dead Space, so you can listen to audio logs while you're exploring. And this is just, like, cutscene and then talking heads, then more cutscene. Like, especially at the end, as I joked on Twitter, Like, I went and got like a bar and a Coke and a bag of chips as I knew I was sitting down to watch like an hour of my talking head stuff.
I didn't know what I had coming.
Wait till we do
And
4
I
someday.
got to the end, and it was like 35. I think I timed it as like 35 minutes or something like that.
You think if you can tell you never played 4 because I think 4 is like an hour to 2 hours at the end.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
epilogue
I've
is like
heard
an
that
hour
it's
and a half
4
long.
Is it 4 where you have to change the disc in the middle of a cutscene? Is that the one I'm thinking of, or is that this one?
No, this one's only one disc.
Because it's only one disc. I thought I heard that there was like one where you have to change the disc in the middle of a cutscene.
3.
Twin Snakes?
Maybe Twin Snakes. No, I can't remember.
3's on one disc.
Yeah, 3's
4's on one disc too.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm full of crap. Then.
4 just has excessive installing. Like after every chapter, like it stops to install.
Oh, okay, that's probably one thing.
And then it shows Snake smoking and says "Don't smoke." Something like that. Yeah, 4 is weird. We'll talk about that someday. I really want to do it, but like I don't enjoy running through the big shell as much. I don't enjoy the story with this. I don't enjoy all like the weird. I mean, I understand what it's going for, but like when you're playing through it and a gameplay standpoint, it just wasn't that much fun. Like the Dead Cell is not Foxhound at all. The terrorist group that took over this plant and kidnapped the president, and you're fighting. They're just a bunch of like the first boss you fight is Fortune, which is a woman who was the daughter of the guy that died on the tanker, the guy in charge, who is lucky and has a giant rail cannon and shoots electric bolts at you, and you just have to just dodge it for like a minute or two.
Yeah.
It's not a real fight.
Yeah, it's not. It's interesting. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but it felt like there weren't as many boss fights in this as in Metal Gear Solid 1. There probably were, and they're just so much further apart from each other. I don't know.
I think this had less.
Yeah, because it's like you have fight Olga on the tanker. That's kind of a boss fight.
It is a boss fight.
Yeah, it's a super easy one, but it's technically one. And
Kind
you have Fortune, which again same thing. And then you have Vamp. Oh, you have
Fat Man, Vamp,
And Harrier.
the Harrier.
Fight Fat Man twice.
You fight Fat Man, yeah.
Not Fat Man. Vamp.
Vamp twice. You fight Vamp twice. Yeah, maybe it does. It doesn't feel like it. And yeah, it doesn't have the like. There's nothing on the level of like Psycho Mantis fight or
any of them. Sniper Wolf, Vulcan Raven,
Vulcan Raven. Like no boss fight in this game felt interesting or fun to me.
And I think that was on purpose. I don't think it was accidental he did that. I think he did that because of the hype of Metal Gear Solid 1 and how much Foxhound was loved as these characters. You know, Sniper Wolf. I mean, they're all such big, giant characters. And the one, Fortune is a woman that you can't shoot with guns. You just dodge her. I'm sure that was a type of thing he was trying to say. And then Fat Man is a big guy who plants bombs on roller skates. His boss fight is he rolls around and plants bombs, and you have to go defuse them if you don't shoot them fast enough.
Well, sipping wine from a margarita glass or something.
Yes, it's the biggest fuck you to the fans, and I guess I didn't realize that until now that I'm older and I'm playing third, I'm like, yeah, I get it now, and I played Metal Gear Solid 1 more recently, and I'm like, oh, I completely get what you're going for. But
I loved it. It was hilarious to me.
We can't argue. I don't think there's any argument that Yell Dead Cell, the music during boss fight, absolutely slaps.
Oh yeah,
they all do have
I
really
love the
good theme
music in
music.
this game in general. The opening theme to this game, I love. Like that, just like every time I would turn it on, I would like just sit there on the title screen for a little bit and listen to it.
Yeah,
it is good music. I mean, I didn't pay a lot of attention to it because I played with sound on, of course, for this game, but I just didn't care.
I thought it had really good, really good music. The voice acting was, the same. It was what it is.
I like the voice act.
I love the voice acting.
I have no problem with it. I do get annoyed with some of the codec conversations with Rose. One thing that
Rose.
Well, you have Campbell, which is the same colonel from Metal Gear Solid 1 that's in charge of this mission because you're the only member of Foxhound.
Or is he?
Mm-hmm.
You have who else? Is it just him and Rose?
No, in the
you have Otacon later.
You have Stillman.
Oh yeah,
Colonel.
Stillman, the bomb guy that he stops answering after a while.
Yeah, you got Stillman, you got Mr. X, who is also Deep Throat, who is also Ninja, who is also Olga.
Yeah.
You got President Johnson, you got Ames.
Oh, you can talk to all these people? I don't talk. I mean, I don't talk to anybody.
I have like a little notes taking app on my thing, and I took a photograph of all the codecs.
Okay.
So, of all the codec.
Everyone
codecs.
dies that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Ames gets killed too, but I don't remember.
Yeah, he has a heart attack.
Oh yeah, Ames has a heart attack.
Like
The
those
president
faux
gets shot by
stocks die.
Ocelot.
EE. I can't remember who EE is.
Emma.
Yep.
So
Poor Otacon.
speaking of codec calls, I found it. I took a screenshot of it and I recorded it. I save stated, thankfully, right before, and I got the codec call. I found the codec call where you can call Pliskin, and I guess Pliskin's supposed to give you info about like the enemies and stuff too. And where it goes, so what's up with Vamp? And it's like, oh yeah, Vamp is he's a guy who, when he's a kid, he gets crucified, and then he survives off the blood of his family. And Raiden goes, oh, is that why they call him Vamp? And Snake flat out goes, no, they call him Vamp because he's bisexual.
Yeah, I remember that.
What the fuck?
What?
I thought a building fell on top of him or something, and he survived.
He was in Romania, and his small town got bombed, and he was at church, and he survived off his family's blood. But even weirder, he's bisexual. He has a relationship with Fortune's dad.
What? Where is this at?
It's like you have to dig into like the codec conversations.
Oh, okay, but it's actually there.
It's actually there. Yep. It's a whole thing where it talks about Vamp and Fortune's dad. Not even secret. I think that they were just in a relationship. It's weird.
And does Fortune know?
Fortune knows. That's why it's like, and even Raiden's like, is that why they're so close? And Snake's like, yeah, in more ways than one, but I don't really know how, and I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, no.
My God.
It's not in my nature to be mysterious, but I don't want to talk about it, and I don't want to talk about why.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it.
This game is just so weird as hell. And again, that feels like a knock at the fans again, in a way.
See, that's what I like. I remember my first introduction to this was, I think it was early 2002, and I think it was sometime in March, and we had like a little break off school. So like where I grew up, like we didn't have Blockbuster. I had mom and pop stores and gas stations. There was a gas station that rented PlayStation 2. So I went up there and I was like, okay, I'm going to rent this out and see how far I can get because I didn't have a memory card. And I think I got a little bit past Fat Man. And like what's so weird about the entire time, like you're playing it and it feels like a remake of Metal Gear Solid 1, which was a remake of Metal Gear 2. Because you're doing a lot of the same beats, and like that's kind of the story reason. But I actually like what kind of gets you through it, and it's what I've never played Death Stranding. I'm just going to throw that out there. Why I kind of have no desire to do that is when I hear people talk about that game, and it's like, okay, it's like this long, and all you're doing is walking. But for all of like the codec conversations and the cutscenes, like the moment-to-moment gameplay of getting around and fighting these characters, like it may not be as memorable or as interesting as like Foxhound, but it's still fun. Like I love how it's like you're always doing something different, and that's what I really liked about Metal Gear Solid and this one. Is that, okay, 1 second you're doing this, and now you're defusing bombs, and now you're kind of sidling along the side, and then the Harrier fight, and then you're underwater, which is like a new thing in this game, which I remember being clumsier than what I thought, but it was actually not that hard.
I had a hard time with the underwater parts. I kept getting my up and down mixed up a lot.
Yeah.
And I would get stuck in corners and stuff.
It's hard to reacclimate your brain to like, because I used to play these all the time because I just was so into this series, and I still like it, but I'm not as diehard as what I am now, especially going back from like Subsistence, where like I remember playing Metal Gear Solid 3 and it was like the vanilla release, and I thought it was an absolute nightmare. Like I just ran and gunned with a shotgun the entire time because it was like overhead in a jungle and I couldn't see anything. There was no Soliton radar. But in this, it's kind of weird to go back to like, you accepted it at the time. You held down like 2 buttons to fire a gun and aim it in first person. But now it's just like so hard to like, oh, okay, I have to hold this one and this one. And then you don't really know, like once your gun is drawn, like how do you put it away? Like you just kind of fire that bullet, or at least that's what I did all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, thankfully, so I really enjoyed the gameplay as well, actually, with this game a lot. Like, I actually enjoyed this one so much, and I was surprised because I love Metal Gear Solid 1, and I've beaten it a couple of times, and I've played a good bit of 3. And then otherwise, I'm just like super into Metal Gear, like vicariously. You know, I've listened to lots of podcasts about it and read about it, and have a lot of like art for Metal Gear because I'm just into it aesthetically and all that. And I really love Metal Gear Solid 1, and playing this, I kind of think at least for some parts, I kind of like this more a little bit. I found the story like actually super interesting and weird, but interesting. And I thought the gameplay was really, really good. I like playing as Raiden a lot. And I liked, like you were saying, I like having something. It was like always changing. The game was always changing in a way that Metal Gear Solid 1, I feel like, isn't as much.
Metal Gear Solid 2, I feel like, has the opposite problem of Metal Gear Solid 3. And I feel like that's because that's Kojima really trying to always do something different with every game. Because one thing I can always think about when it comes to 3 is I really like the story, and like you said earlier, but all your equipment just sucks.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I only use the Trank gun in 3. Like I use the Trank gun in like one other thing.
But one of the things that I can always just think of is that a lot 2 has a lot of different weapons that come back that come back, and there's a lot of other interesting stuff too. There's like a grenade launcher, there's 2 different rifles, but there's also the final weapon, which I think is just hilariously great, which is the katana.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of non-lethal mode somehow.
Yes.
Oh, it makes the blade not sharp. Simple. It's a high frequency blade. It vibrates at high speeds, and when you can turn that off to where it's just a big dumb blunt blade.
Yeah.
It is weird.
That's funny.
I don't know. I've always enjoyed this game more as a kid than I did this playthrough, which made me sad because it had the games my mom found effect where you go back to an old game that you remember loving. Because I remember loving the story, the gameplay, everything. And I went back to this playthrough and I'm just like, I'm not enjoying this like I thought I would be.
Is it because because when I think about like the first time I played Metal Gear Solid, I was in, I don't know how everyone does it in the States, but I was in grade 10. I was in high school, and like it felt so mature and profound, even though it's remarkably silly. And then the same thing with like this, where it's just like when you're watching the ends and everything that everyone's saying, and you're just like, this is so smart, even though I think it's just because like I'm still developing as a person, and now when I look back at it, I'm like, this is incredibly clumsy. And I think it's because like Metal Gear Solid 1 sold so well and was so highly revered that Konami was like, do whatever the heck you want because you made us all this money. And then Metal Gear Solid 3 was kind of like an apology, because Metal Gear Solid 1, it's such a basic story where it's just like these people have taken over this base and you got to stop them. And this is like you and EGM. And I think they got like 9.5s across the board. Like they didn't, or 9 or 9.5s. They didn't quite reach the 10. And just like, it's so hard to keep track of like quadruple crosses from people where it's just like, I was against you, but then you were against me, who was against them, but they knew they were against me. And you're just like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah. Accurate.
I love it. And you're talking about like apology, but it's funny you think about the games. It's like everyone loves Snake in the first game. So Kojima says, all right, next game, you play a Snake for an hour, then fuck you, you don't play a Snake the rest of the game.
Well,
then,
also,
all right. Oh, go
all
ahead.
these missions, like all the boss fights are kind of supposed to emulate stuff from, like this whole game is supposed to emulate Shadow Moses, which you find out partly later on for story reasons, but also like the Harrier reminded me of fighting the helicopter in Metal Gear Solid 1. Like so many little things that are there, but it just doesn't hit right. Like you have you don't have a sniping boss, but instead you have to snipe Vamp while he's holding Emma and he's choking her.
That sniping section's really cool, though. I really like that.
I did like it.
Was fun.
In the infrared, had like the infrared on, and so you're like shooting these like red silhouettes and all that. Yeah, no, I mean I like it, but I was just saying, it's like then MGS3 is like you think, oh, I'm gonna play a Snake this time. Nope, you're playing as the villain from the original Metal Gear. All right, Metal Gear 4. All right, you do get to play a Snake, but we're gonna kill him, and it's just
and we're gonna make him old.
We're making him elderly. Yeah,
he's old.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like Kojima just is like, it kind of makes me think of like the new Matrix a little bit.
Where I've never seen that yet.
Well, it's just really clear that Warner Brother went to the Wachowski sisters and were like, hey, we're making a new Matrix with or without you. And so Lana Wachowski was like, all right, fuck you guys. And it is what it is. It's a something. It's respect.
Called I'll never work for WB again, right?
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if I liked that, but I appreciated that.
Same.
It was like, good for her. she basically just said "fuck you" to Warner Brothers and made a movie. And I don't think it's a good movie, but I think it's an interesting movie, and it's a real movie, if that makes any sense. But anyway, so same here. Like, I think that, well, except for I do think this is good, but I think, yeah, Kojima just like, oh, you want me to make another Metal Gear, huh? I'll show you.
I also, like, for the story wise, because I have had different thoughts in this game. Like, I used to believe the tanker happened and that the entire Big Shell incident was all VR. Now I have no idea what's VR and what's not and what's real and if anything of this game is real. Like,
and that's kind of the point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know, but I don't like it.
Well, so the only thing is at the end, I think you really do have the boss fight at the end. I think that's happening. And if that's actually happening, then I don't think the Big Shell incident is VR, but I don't know for sure.
I don't think the Big Shell's VR for one very specific reason. And if I'd rather go through the entire story beat and then explain why my theory on that is.
Okay.
I mean, okay. I don't even know what to think anymore about this game. I used to have a certain thought. I do believe the final fight with Solidus, which again is annoying that he's the third Snake brother, and this also used to be the president from during Metal Gear Solid 1, and this is the guy that Ocelot was on the phone with in the end. He goes, "Yes, Mr. President."
Yeah.
It's like no one bats an eyelash at like the former president of the United States is in like a super suit battling some guy in a building. Like everyone's just like on the street. Well, I guess it's, whatever. It's just
another day in New York.
I think that's supposed to be the fact of like everything kind of feels fake up until that point, because like Ryan's the only person on the street up until like you're kind of staring at the president. You're kind of looking at Arsenal gear on top of the White House. What's it on top of?
No,
it's in New
Statue of
York.
Liberty. It was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be like around the two towers, but then it had to be changed for reasons.
It was supposed to like drive into New York City and hit a bunch of stuff, hit the Statue of Liberty and things like that.
Yeah. I can't believe they could change it that fast because this came out November 2001.
They just cut it all.
Jesus.
There's a whole scene that was filmed that we never saw. Apparently, that's written where it comes showing it cut because how it just like appeared. It's just there all of a sudden. They cut everything because of 9/11.
That's like Spider-Man.
Yeah, they had to recall all the discs for Enter Electro and just like they had to recall everything and then just like change it and send out more.
Oh,
I was thinking like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie where they had that trailer that had the scene where he catches the helicopter between the Twin Towers.
Yeah, but it was also the sequel Enter Electro on PlayStation because like the final fight takes place on like two towers while you're fighting Electro, and they had to recall all the discs and then reship them out.
Yeah, that happened with a lot of stuff. I remember I was a DJ my college radio station, and we got the Agnostic Front album that came out. I think it came out on 9/11, and they had they put out a new version of it with like a sticker on the front that says Agnostic Front is against terrorism or something like that.
Was there something in there that wasn't good or something?
Well, no, I mean, Agnostic Front is just very like, I mean, they're pretty, like a lot of punk. They're very kind of like leftist, anti-government, anti-fascism kind of thing. So
yeah,
and
that fits the times.
Yeah, Offspring had that. Their like single Speed Kills came out on 9/11. They had to change it to the people that they changed the name of the song to the people that we love. But yeah, no, I had no idea that it was going to have that at the end.
I can't believe you went into the game kind of blind though. That's impressive.
Yeah, well, I knew what I knew was that there was a sense when you're playing the game that you're not sure what's real and what's not. I knew that much about it, but that was all I knew. And so yeah, whenever well, I don't know. I mean, do we want to follow through or do we want to just talk whatever?
Well, there's one thing I want to bring up, like, I guess, because when you fight Fortune, you're shooting, or when you fight, in air quotes, Fortune, one of your stray bullets hits Vamsa in the head, and then he falls down and dies and comes back, and you find out in 4 it's nanomachines or milk blood or something, I can't remember. But I guess this did happen because in 4, like, Vam's character has the hole in his head.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
So then, okay, because in one of the videos I was watching, they did mention that there was stuff in 4 that retconned some of the stuff in this that shows, like, some of it was real. Okay.
Yeah, well they had to think of the reason why, like, an arm would take over a human being.
I can believe that.
And the other thing is that it could be we're playing a VR version of a real thing that happened. That's the meta of this. That's how the tanker level can be slightly different and so on. It happened.
How much truth there is in that statement.
And see, this is why this game is cool, because like you can sit down and like, I mean, Grand Theft Auto 3 came out within like a month or the same month as this, and it was revolutionary. And it was really weird to think that that was so under the radar, and then it became this huge thing when there was so much hype for Metal Gear Solid 2, and then it kind of was so divisive when it came out. But now, like, just look at the discussions you can have about this game, and like the exposition and the storytelling is so clumsy. But like, I mean, we're gonna get into this about how like so much of this predicted like what's happening now with like.
I'm waiting for that part.
Media.
I have.
It's like
Yeah.
the hard
for that. I have warnings too.
The hard drive had an article, and it was Hideo Kojima's next game is about how the world is nice and everything is perfect because everything he puts out is like Death Stranding was like, oh, the world is gone. The most important people are like postal workers, and then like the now times happen.
And it came out like 6 months before the pandemic. like so I was listening to something and someone was like, did Kojima wish the pandemic?
You know, that is a good question, because I actually know someone, not that part, but I mean like about that game coming out before the pandemic, because I actually know someone who worked on that game.
Yeah, is he like vision boarding the future for us? Is he a wizard? Like,
to be fair, we're really predictable. Like it's one of the things where we were already on the fast track where like Amazon's already taking over most of our lives, and everyone's ordering stuff and everything else. My favorite thing, which I was gonna say earlier, man, if y'all didn't like the ending of this, Death Stranding's not for you, because that game's ending is 2 hours long.
Oh,
2 hour cutscene.
The 2 hour cutscene.
It's a movie.
Of you just sitting and a character walking around you explaining the plot, explaining much more better than this, but it is in fact a 2 hour cutscene.
Wow.
Can I pause it at least?
Yes.
That's why I appreciate this game, is this is before the era of pausing cutscenes and before like the end happens. It's like, do you want to save now? And I'm like, oh, thank you.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like I saved. I was like, I'm gonna go like use the bathroom, get some water or something, replenish my snacks, as I know like something is gonna. Well, I knew this time around what was happening, but
you knew what was coming, huh?
Yeah.
And speaking of saving, Mike, you and me, what's it called? State saved, right?
Save state, yes.
So you didn't save very often. I remember back in the day of this game, Jack and Rose, Ryden, Jack and Rose are like one of the weirdest ass fucking couples ever.
Yeah.
And I saved once, and I'm glad I saved because it actually explains one of the ending cutscenes later on. Is the first time you ever save with her, she's like, Jack, what? Why don't you sleep in the same bed with me? And he's like, oh, I don't feel like it. But if you continue to save, it's kind of like the other games, but I believe they're together because they're really into, which is really weird for that day and age too. They're really into old school movies like Godzilla from the 60s and King Kong. And it's just such a weird like thing to have in common.
I mean, as you find out as the game progresses, Raiden is really fucked up in the head because he was a child soldier and tortured and fought in wars, and then
they fed him gunpowder.
Yeah, and kidnapped essentially kind of by the government to be trained as an operative, and then but he's not really he got a messed up. And then you find like Rose was sent to meet him to keep him under control or something of that nature.
Yeah,
and then you're also not sure if that's
Patriots. Wait, the Patriots weren't in the first game, were they?
No.
Okay, so part of this big game is that you find out there's this government organization called the Patriots, which is 12 men who are controlling everything in the world. Which I can believe. I actually partly believe that there's something like that in real life, but that's neither here nor there. And the whole idea is that that's what everybody's up to. The whole reason that Ocelot or Liquid Ocelot is trying to get Arsenal and do this whole mission is not to launch nukes, not to get money like Raiden thinks they're doing, because that's what he's told by the colonel in quotations. Is all to get the names of the Patriots and then kill them.
Well, that's Solidus's mission. Like, Ocelot is an agent of the Patriots. I actually like that reveal by Solidus, where it's just
where he's
like, we're all being manipulated by these people, so he's want to turn like Manhattan into this again, because everyone is like, we have to make Outer Heaven, which is the thing of this game. It's like this area cut off from the world where everyone's not under control by these people. And I really need to play 4 again because I can't remember. I know there's so much where they try to explain, because there's a thing in the post-credit scene where that's a thing where it's the Patriots are like Abraham Lincoln and all these other people who've been dead for 100 years.
Right.
And I guess we'll get into like the whole talking heads thing at the end. Like go back to Rose. Like I just think it's one of the things about this game is like at the start, I think it's a slow burn on the big shell because like you're in this mission where it's the president's here. We have to save freedom and there's a terrorist action. And you have someone who is just like constantly bugging you about their anniversary. And it's like, you remember the first time we met? Like, okay, I'm sure the president is fine. We can just sit here for like a half an hour and talk about how like we have to remember which building that King Kong climbed for like a good 15 minutes.
Yeah, I have to admit, like, I pressed that triangle button anytime she started talking. I could not stand Rose.
I tried it first, and I'm just like, I don't give a shit.
I did it for this show, so you're welcome. I normally skip it, but I was just like, I got to be thorough.
I couldn't do it this time. I tried listening to some of the stuff, and I had time. It wasn't like some games where I'm just rushing. I'm just like, I don't give a shit.
I listened to the other codecs, but man, Rose, she just goes forever. She's worse than Mei Ling. She just forever and ever.
What's worse, it's about your relationship.
Yeah, Mei Ling was doing her job.
Yeah, but Mei Ling was doing her job, except she'd be like, "Hey, have you ever seen King Kong?" And, she would talk about this stuff also.
But she wouldn't stop you. Like that was stuff that was optional. It wasn't like she would stop you dead in your tracks and be like, "Do you remember this day?" And it's just like, no, I'm sure. Like I can imagine. Like, would it be amazing to kind of remake something like this and you have the codec conversations, but you can actually walk around while it's happening and listen to stuff. Like it would be so much. Like I would love, like, because people have always been like, they were going to remake Metal Gear Solid and Blue Point is doing it, and it's all rumors and wishful hoping and hopeful wishing. Like that would be super cool, and just to have it with like modern storytelling, because like it's for everything that this game does right, like just putting down the controller all the time is, especially at the start, like I think that start is what kind of kills it, is that like once you beat Fat Man, I think the game gets so much better, but getting up to that point where like you're running around and you only have like so much of the big shell to explore, it's kind of drags until after he's gone.
Well, yeah, that's exactly. So I told y'all like 4 years ago I started it, and I had one more C4 to disarm when I put it down. So I was one C4. I was one step. I was like 15 minutes before the Fat Man fight when I put the game down for 4 years, because I was getting really boring at that point. And then after beating Fat Man, from that point on, I was in on this game. I was playing it like a lot. I was really enjoying it. And then, the 30-minute cutscene at the end, which I did not expect. I was just like, man, this is really going for a long time.
I skipped it. When I got to the end, I'm just like, I don't care. I'm just done. I just skipped everything and just turned off the game.
Well, and I beat it. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was tired. And I was like, all right, I beat the game, I think. And then 35 minutes later, it finally goes to the credits, and then you can't skip the credits either.
Nope.
So I just left the room for the credits, because I wanted to see what would happen after the credits.
It's merciful, because when you think like I haven't played an Ubisoft game in years because I have my reasons that I won't get into. But I remember the last time I played an Ubisoft game where it's just like Ubisoft Quebec, Ubisoft Montreal, Ubisoft the Moon, Ubisoft an alternate dimension, like, and it just goes on for like a half an hour with like all of these places for like a PlayStation 2 game where it's like, yeah, this is probably made by like 100 people, and now 100 people would be like the person animating Joel's facial hair in The Last of Us or something.
Yeah.
Things have changed.
But it's funny because I just played a very recent game. I just beat Demon Souls remake for PS5, and you get to the end credits of that, and it's playing beautiful music, and it's showing you all this cool stuff, but it just has to press X to skip, start your game again.
Yeah, that's why I just finished Spider-Man on PS5, and like you skip the credits, you get to like the one post-credit scene, you skip them again, you get the other, and then that's great.
That's cool. I'm playing that currently. But I thought I agreed with you totally. Like the game really picks up after the Fat Man fight. And the Fat Man fight was interesting. It was so weird, but it was, mechanically interesting what you have to do, and it was something.
So which difficulty did everyone play on?
Normal.
Very easy.
Very easy.
Okay. Because I found the Fat Man fight tricky on normal, because sometimes you put bombs and I could never find them in time. because it would be like below something or above something, and I was like, oh man, like the clock is ticking down. I actually stumbled on it a bit.
Oh yeah, same. I failed. I think it took me like 6 or 7 attempts.
And I was like, I don't remember this being this hard. But then I think like back in the day, I probably played on like easy or very easy, as I was kind of just in for the story and I didn't want to like struggle that much.
Yeah, no, I discovered that I could shoot him and knock him down. I could knock him down, shoot him in the head, and then I could plant a claymore right in front of him. And he would almost immediately get, I mean, not every time, but a lot of the time he would like stand up and immediately run into the claymore and fall down again. So once I figured that out, I was able to beat it pretty easy, but it took me several attempts.
And that's the cool thing about this boss is because like there's so many different ways you can go about them, because I remember the hardest part of it doing non-lethal, and this is the vamp fight where you're in the pool, because he's hard to hit with just your tranq, but then
I can't even imagine.
This time around I thought, because like he has the move where he throws a knife at your shadow and you can't move, and I never even looked anything up, and I was playing it this time and I was like, you know what, I'm going to shoot out the lights and find out what happens, and he can't freeze you.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, you just shoot out the lights and he can't freeze you, and it's so much easier to get with the tranq, because I always had to like stop my non-lethal run there because I found that way too challenging. And then I was just like, it's not even something I looked up. I'm assuming like there's some people who might be listening to this being like, oh, dummy, you didn't know you shoot out the lights? I'm like, no, I didn't look it up. And then I was just like, I'm going to try to do this. And that's the cool thing about like these series, is that there's so many different ways you can go about like approaching fights.
That is awesome. I love that. Yeah, I cheesed that fight. I just stinger missiled him because the stinger missile, will track him. So he's like running, jumping around the screen, and I'm just stinger missiling him like crazy.
And like the Ray fight at the end, like I was having a lot of trouble with that because I was playing on normal, because I was like, I think it depending on what difficulty is, depends on how many comes out. And I was just shooting for the head of the Rays. And then I was like, why can you target the legs? Why would you want to do that? And then it makes sense to do that because they like fall down and their mouth is open for a long time and you can do like a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And it's like cool little things like that you wouldn't even like think of, because your brain is just like, damage head, go here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hats off to you for figuring that out yourself. I watched a walkthrough part for that. So I
shot him in the leg.
But with playing it on my computer, and it would tick down to 10 or 15 FPS when I'm firing stingers.
Oh.
That Metal Ray fight was, I mean, that took me over an hour probably. I almost was like, you know what? This is like the second to last boss fight. I might just quit and just watch a video for the rest of it. But I didn't, and I made it. But man, it took me, I mean, probably 30 tries to get through that fight.
And how does everyone feel about, like, I always liked Ray. I think it's a really cool design.
My favorite Metal Gear.
Yeah, my favorite Metal Gear too.
It's my favorite Metal Gear aesthetically. Yeah. Before
I had the game, because I missed out on all the McFarlane toys for the first game. Like, I think my brother went to university and he found like Psycho Mantis and Sniper Wolf, so that was the only part ones I had from 1. So when 2 came out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get all of these. And interesting, I remember seeing the toys in EGM, and for Raiden, I think Fortune and Solidus, they were only shown in silhouettes. They would only show Snake, Ocelot, and
that makes sense. They were trying to hide
everything with Raiden. That's good that they did that.
The Build-A-Figure was Ray, and I don't have that anymore, and I'm really bummed about it. But it was also really flimsy. Like the fin would always fall off, and it was really frustrating. But like I had that on like in my room before I even played the game, and I like really fell in love with like that design. I think it's really cool.
I like Ray too.
I have on my computer at work, I have just a folder of like 500 pictures that my desktop flips through, and at least 50 of them are Metal Gear art. And several of them are Metal Gear Ray, just because I love Metal Gear Ray. Like the design of it is really cool. I like the idea of it, like it's swimming around and stuff. It's very cool.
There's a thing I noticed this playthrough, that when you shoot Metal Gear Ray, it bleeds, and all I could think of, are there angels inside there?
Yeah, I got that feeling too a lot.
That's what went through my head. I'm like, maybe these things aren't robots after all.
Oh gosh, they bleed.
They bleed.
Yeah.
Is it like oil? Is that what it's implied to be, or is it?
It's not. I mean, it's not blood. That they're not like what I'm joking.
I mean, they also scream and like, why? Why was I programmed to feel pain?
Yeah. You shoot them in the knee and they like scream and open up their faces. And I was just thinking, man, this is like a bad design.
Because there's no pilots in these rays, right?
No.
Okay,
No,
they're all controlled by Arsenal Gear.
Yeah, they're all controlled by the AI.
By GMMF.
Okay, I think we kind of had glossed over, but we should jump to it. Like, it comes to a point in the game where you beat a few bosses, you get kind of tricked by Pliskin, and Pliskin's like, why? And Ryan's like, we're on the same side. He's like, I never said that.
Yeah,
And then
that part blew me away. I was like, what? Why is Snake betraying me?
saying I was on yours.
And then it's like Olga turns out to be the ninjas. Olga, they knock you out, and then you wake up being tortured by Solidus Snake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also weird.
Man, like the Snake double cross there, that was the first like big twist that floored me.
So I hope y'all don't mind if I backpedal just a little bit.
Sure, no, please.
Because it's it's one of the things that I like about the series, because it's always referenced in future games, especially in 5. But with the AI stuff, this game makes you feel really bad for Otacon.
Yeah.
And like one of the things which is just a small story segment, I really like the back and forth between Raiden and Emma. And besides it being one of the worst escort missions I've ever played in my entire life,
Yeah.
their dialogue back and forth is really cute, and it really helps. And there's like the scene where which I always consider Kojima being a good storyteller. There's the scene where she wraps her arms around him and like they breathe at the same time to hype up to get in the water is really cool.
Yeah.
But Otacon always just gets shit on.
Yeah, even in 4.
His
Even in
life
4.
is pain. His life is misery.
It's his dad's fault too. But his backstory of him being like, so why is Emma scared of water? Well, you see, my dad decided to pick her up into his big dumb wheelchair and then drive himself into the pool, and he almost killed her, and he successfully killed himself. And then later on, you find out that the reason why Hal wasn't around was because he was too busy having sex with his stepmom.
I was waiting. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Fucking Christ.
And it's like,
What?
wait, what do you mean what?
Wait.
It's in the game.
He was having sex with his. Did I somehow?
It's a codec conversation.
He was
It's a
having
codec
sex
conversation.
With his,
It's not even
I
a Kodakon. I think it was one of the cutscenes. I didn't know. Like,
I knew
'cause
about the drowning thing. I didn't remember he was having sex with his stepmom.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he says, Emma, the reason I wasn't there.
seduced. He didn't. Like, I was
Oh.
seduced by.
Yeah, he was seduced. He was like 13 or 16.
Oh my god! I think
Yeah.
I must have accidentally skipped that or something. I did not. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
But my other favorite part, because we just played Metal Gear Twin Snakes recently for the podcast,
Yeah.
is like Emma's dying in Hal's arms, and you have like the silliest fucking thing you could possibly do, which is Emma's dying and she goes, Hal, can you please call me Emma one last time? And he goes, why would I do that? And she just dies. And Snake and Raiden are having the most awkward conversation. And she's like, is the AI working? And Otacon looks up and it's just a big, no, it's not working. Yeah, sure, it's working. And then she's like, will you call me Emma? And he's like, that's weird. Why would I do that? And she dies. And he's like, no. And then he's like, oh, Wolf, will I ever find love? And if you, like I said, we played Twin Snakes recently, and Wolf didn't give a shit about him in that game.
She didn't know he exists. I love it.
She doesn't even acknowledge him.
He is in
He
love
loved
with her, obsessed with her, and she doesn't know he exists. It's awesome.
And it's so weird that he's like, oh, Wolf, will I ever find love? And her ghost is like, who are you again?
Yeah.
And then and then they walk off, and Hal has like the worst breakdown of like existence, because it is true, because he just feels so bad that he didn't realize that which I thought they were half siblings, but they're not. They're step siblings, even though they look alike.
That's just weird.
I think that's actually, I mean, some of it is it is really ham-fisted, but it's delivered by the performances, but like when he's there and he's just like walking by, and then because the whole thing about Emma is that she's kind of messed up herself and she doesn't really have anyone except for a parrot that she talks to, and you're just like walking and it's like the parrot's there and it's like, Hal, I miss you, and like her voice, and I was like, man, that's like, that got me.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's ridiculous, but I was like, man, this is like rough. And then like it's really thinking about, like, I don't remember a lot about Metal Gear Solid 4 as I finished it in 2008, and unlike all of these, I've only finished it once, but like everyone, I think mostly in Metal Gear Solid 4 gets a happy ending, and Otacon gets screwed over again.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it in case anyone hasn't played it, but
You can spoil it for me. The fans. Yeah.
I don't remember it. I played it, but I have absolutely no memory of that game at all. So when I go back to it, it'll be completely blind almost.
Okay, so I will mention it, but like, yeah, also like I kind of love like the awesome triumphant movement, how it's just like the slow camera walk, and it's like Raiden and Snake and Otacon, and even like I really love like the relationship between Snake and Otacon, like when the thing happens and they have like their awesome like best friends handshake moments where they just like kind of like do their handshake and then they kind of like hug it out, because it's just, like, I'm a hard guy, but like you're my brother.
It's got a soft spot for Otacon. That's why I really like at the beginning of the game that they're two bros saving the world together, you know? Like I like that relationship.
It is humorous. Should we also say how much of a like fuck you after the torture scene? You end up getting freed by Olga, but now you're naked with no gear. And you have to run around naked, but because of the game or whatever, you know, like Raiden can't use his hands because he got to hold on to his dick. Which, if I was in a situation where people were trying to kill me, I think I'll just be like, it's okay.
Yeah,
okay.
No, you use that to distract them.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
you put him with just like peep his celery in his butt.
So here's the funny thing. For some reason, my PlayStation 2 emulator, if my son had left his 360 controller plugged into my computer, then my wireless controller would just erase the settings. And so I had saved, and then I came back and I'm playing. I get out of the torture scene, I get out of the chair, and I can only move down and to the right, and none of the face buttons work on the controller. And for a solid 5-10 minutes, I thought this was something going on. I thought maybe Raiden was drugged or something. So I'm just like trying to figure out, how can I move around this room while only being able to press down and to the right? I can spin him by pressing to the right, and then pressing down makes him go this way. And I'm like, why can't I open this locker? I'm pressing the button. I guess I have to do something first.
That's funny.
And then I figured out my controller was messed up.
It's just such a weird scene. Oh, also, they never animated his junk, by the way, because my ex-girlfriend at the time, or my girlfriend at the time, when we played this game, she actually went and tried, and I guess there is a way to get him to move his hands, and there's nothing there. They never animated it, or they never created it.
He can punch, but he's very creative. It's just
canonically.
like one hand, up hands.
My favorite joke, Raiden. Wait, if this is supposed to be a replica of Shadow Moses, why was I naked? Snake wasn't naked. Revolver Ocelot. Oh, that was just for my own personal amusement.
Is that a thing that happens? I've never had that happen in the 20 years I've been playing this game.
No, that's just a joke that I like. Yeah.
The internet.
Yeah, the
I mean, it could be in there.
It should have been. It should have been. I love Revolver Ocelot. Continues to be my favorite character in this series.
Agreed.
When you wake up from that torture scene and you're in the arsenal gear, do you think this is real or do you think this is VR?
This is real.
I still think the whole thing is real. I think the only part this VR is, I think,
Tanker.
Raiden's experience of the tanker is VR. I think the VR thinks the tanker still happened. I don't think that our version of it is the VR version of it.
Yeah, well, that's because they say, like, Snake says, like, you may have gone through kind of like what the military or intelligence thinks happened, but it's not actually what happened, because Fortune thinks that Snake killed her dad.
Right.
But it was really Ocelot who just like shot him. I just also love, going back to the tanker, everyone has that guy dead to rights, but like a 60-year-old man with like a revolver just kills everyone. And because like they had like, Snake finds out that they were specifically set up because there's like a drone with a camera, which quaint back in 2001. It was like a work of fiction.
Yeah.
And now like you can just buy them at like Best Buy.
I have one. Actually, next to me, I have a drone. No camera on it, but I have a drone. So.
Yes, that's the thing about like the tanker. What was it like? They had a tanker and then they sank it and then they put another one out there and sank that one to hide up the other one or something.
They had a tanker ready to go, and then they brought it right over there and sunk it.
Like, I guess they talk about, like, in Metal Gear Solid 3, like, the big thing is, like, this endless pool of money called the Philosopher's Legacy. And I'm like, man, I hope you did some good investments. It's like, this is a lot of money. Just, like...
Isn't it only like $1 million?
No, it's more than that. It's like billions.
Yeah, it's got like trillions. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's something ridiculously crazy.
In like 1960s money.
70s.
And also during the Arsenal gear, there's the biggest like fuck you moment too that I know Joe saw last night, where the game starts saying, it's like, because all of a sudden the colonel starts talking and he's like, "You've been playing this game a long time. Shouldn't you just turn it off and go outside?"
That was the part of the game where I went, holy shit, what is going on here? When he started freaking out, I was like, what on earth is even happening?
So
I had no idea that was coming.
2 things with that. So I was playing up until 5 a.m. I sat down at like 7 last night and like played this game till I beat it. And I am still a little sick, a little congested. And so him being like, "Hey, don't you think it's time to turn the game off?" I'm like, "Shut up, Colonel. Okay, I have like an hour left. Leave me alone." I was
You're
wrong.
my supervisor.
Not my supervisor.
You had an hour of gameplay left.
Yeah, but I also have a weird thing too about that scene. I believe you're actually talking to Rose up until where she's like, "I'm pregnant."
Me too.
Yes.
That's what I thought too.
I think that when you wake up from the torture, at that point, like, you can't trust anything that's happening.
Yeah.
Like, I think that the AI is like impersonating anyone you try to talk to until you get through that part.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because Rose says some weird stuff there. She like accuses you of like cheating, the Colonel like says that he saw Rose like cheating on you and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's bizarre. He just starts speaking absolute gibberish at one point.
It's funny.
I think the Colonel is fake the entire time.
Well, that's what Anaconda says, because it's like whoever's broadcasting has been broadcasting inside of Arsenal gear, because he, like, Raiden essentially received his instructions by mail or phone call, or you never met him.
The Colonel.
Yeah. And then that's why, because like you only have like a 98% transmission of like the virus, but now like everything is becoming like corrupted, because I think it's in like the core of Arsenal gear. It's like the Patriots programming. Should we get into the Patriots?
Well, I would say I have a theory real fast about that stuff. I think that the entire game up until the ending is not actual Rose. I think every time you save the game and you're talking to Rose in the codec, I think that that's this same AI that's impersonating the Colonel.
I believe that too.
And I think that the only time the real Rose is in the game is when you see her at the very end.
I think the whole game. I think you're talking to Rose the whole game up until she says she's pregnant. I think after she says she's pregnant, I think it's an AI after that, which I think is technically as soon as you leave your shackles and be naked. So,
do you by the way, does it always, if you talk through the Colonel, does it always show the little like softcore porn in the yeah? I was like, what the fuck is happening with this game?
This game's so silly.
And it was showing like clips from the original Metal Gear, and it's
vision mailed. When this game first came out, I remember my buddy was playing through it before, and he didn't, when he first got to all this, and this is before, reading stuff on the internet, like, he didn't know what was coming, and he was playing this at some point in the morning, and the Colonel's like, "Shut off the game," so he turned off the game. Because he was tired. He's like, "What the fuck?" And it freaked him out. He thought the game was screwing up or something, so he turned it off.
I wondered at first, I was like, oh, maybe, I wonder if I'm supposed to actually like turn off the game and turn it back on, and if that's going to have some effect. Like the way like putting down your controller when you play Psycho Mantis and all that. And I thought about it for a second, and I was like, no, probably not. Maybe. I don't know if it's I was like, there's no way it would know. There's no way a PlayStation 2 would know that you turned it off. Is there?
No, PS4 rest mode, yeah. Not.
Yeah.
But I mean, possibly, because in Metal Gear Solid 3, if you fight the end, like if you get to the end and then adjust the internal clock like a week or something and just boot up the game, he dies of old age.
Oh yeah,
so I guess like the internal clock would be able to like, okay, you turned it off here and then you turned it back on here.
Doesn't really have an internal clock, like not like PS3 did. I think, or maybe not to hold it like that. Like I don't think the technology was there to hold information as much.
Yeah, unless the game did a check, they'd be like, okay, you turned it off 5 minutes ago and you only came back 10 minutes ago. It'd be like, you still have to wait longer.
Yeah, I don't know if the technology would have been there with PS2. No, that's near humor, but it's a cool, like, it's such a weird thing. And then when you do fight, like, depending on what difficulty you're on, you fight a ton of rays that are just jumping up onto the platform and trying to kill you. Like, that is cool with the Stinger.
And the Snake and Raiden fight together, like, even in the opening cinematic. It's interesting because I think they frame it from Snake's perspective, like, even because I think from when you see Raiden jump down in the opening in, like, the attract sequence, like, you only see, like, his feet, like, or something, like, you never see his whole body. God damn, the music in this game is just so good. I was watching The Rock. I came on AMC on TV over Christmas, and I was like, oh man, I can really tell the guy who did the music for this went on to do Metal Gear Solid, because it is literally the same thing.
It's I love some of the fights in this, like the Frey fight. I mean, and that's all, like, and seeing Snake when he's fighting and he's just such a badass with you, and I'm running around with my sword trying to hit people, like, because I was playing this at work at the end of my shift. I was waiting for my wife to get off, so I just hooked up my computer. I'm just sitting here just playing this, and I remember and I was playing on very easy, so I'm just watching him just kill everybody instantaneous. Like, I didn't even have to do anything. I had people walking by me going like, "What are you like? Oh, he's got his game." I was like, doesn't anybody recognize Metal Gear Solid 2? I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
well, it hasn't been in circulation for like a decade. Like,
yes, but these are all, like, the people that walk by were like 2 16-year-olds.
Well, again, like, if you're that age, like, you probably own like a PS4 or Wii. It was probably your first console, and like Metal Gear Solid, like, when you get a PS3, for example, like, you can play like the whole Metal Gear saga, but like not on, like, is it backwards compatible on, like, Xbox Series X?
I don't think so.
Because I know every disc on PS3, like, the only way to play PS3 games on PS4 is via PS Now, and I know nothing about what's on that service. So, like...
And there's nothing on PS5.
Yeah,
I'm assuming this isn't. Or maybe this is, but definitely not.
2 and 3 were on
these games are, like, when I was looking up stuff earlier before this, I don't know if this is on Xbox. This is backwards compatible. That's a good question.
And it was pulled from from PC because they had to relicense, like, the stock footage. And I don't know if they figured that out. Yeah, like, the footage they have in, like, Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 is, like, from some archive, and then the rights expired and they didn't realize it. And I don't know if they actually went up for sale again.
I know, like, through Xbox, and I think however you can get it through the computer, as long as you bought it, you can re-download it, but there's no way to re-buy it in general, because Xbox has a whole thing where as long as you've bought the game, you can always just go back and re-download it. You know how stuff like that is. But like, if that's why everyone was saying, like, oh, if they're getting rid of Metal Gear on Xbox, go buy it now. I think it was even like $5 before they took it off.
Yeah.
And I should have bought it.
That's normal, though. Like, a lot of times companies will do that. They'll make it as cheap as they can before the rights go away. So you can still get it if you're interested.
I know a lot of the reasons why they have issues with Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 in general is because the theme, the Patriot theme, the theme that plays in the opening and the ending and everything, some Russian musician actually, like, copyrighted it, and he had proof that he made the soundtrack like a year before Metal Gear Solid 2 came out. That's why Metal Gear Solid 4 doesn't have, I think it's Theme of the Patriots, because it was like some dude was like, yeah, no, I made that. Here it is a year before Metal Gear Solid 2. Here's me playing it in like an alley or something. And they're like, oh, well, we can't use this anymore, Kojima.
So apparently it is backwards compatible on Xbox Series X. I don't know if it's just digitally or if you have a disc, and it was on PS Now. I don't know if it's still there, but yeah, it's because of licenses for historical archive footage.
That's really weird thing to have it blocked for. Okay.
It happens, though.
Yeah, it's like music. It's like anything.
Yeah, I get it. That's why I don't put any music in any of my podcast episodes. Like, a lot of people put music in their shows. I will not, because I'm like, if I ever get to a point where I get big enough and I'm, like, that would shut me down real fast.
Yeah.
So I don't do it. Just my voice. But you cannot copyright a voice, by the way. I looked it up before. Not unless you're famous.
You can on the blockchain.
So we have the snake, the fighting with Snake, and we have up until we fight the rays. Which, do you fight more if you're playing on a harder difficulty?
Yes, you do. Yes. The harder, it adds more and more to them in the harder difficulty you're playing on.
Because I was sitting here playing this and I was like, man, I can't fight 25 of these things. I'm on like the third one. I'm already sick of this.
Yeah, that fight, I was like, when is this going to end? I was playing on normal, and I don't know how many you fight on normal, maybe 9?
Yeah, 9. 10, 15, I can't
Something
remember.
like that. Yeah, but it was a lot, and especially if the frame rate issues I was having.
Yeah, that too. But you expect me to believe after this whole fight, you expect me to believe Ocelot somehow stuck Fortune with his bullet repelling magnet for God knows how long, and then he ends up taking it, which is complete bullshit. But
He just steals it from her.
he just steals it from her, and she didn't even know she had it on her. But this is the part where I'm like, okay, I know they're not in VR anymore, even though Raiden's on like a big ass like
Final
invisible
Destination.
yeah,
Smash
Final
Brothers?
Destination, Smash Brothers, invisible panel,
Yeah,
fighting what looks like Ava rays from the background. This is the one scene that always sticks with me throughout Metal Gear, where Ocelot jumps in the ray and he's like, "I'm gonna give it everything I've got," and he punches every button. What is it? The Megas XLR, even bigger, the biggest button he's got, and Fortune sticks her arms out, and it's just her, and it's like the weirdest collection of people too in general, because it's her and
Snake.
Solidus wearing Dr. Octagonopus arms, and Raiden and Snake, and they're just watching the bullets fly through them, and they don't understand how it's happening, and no one understands how it's happening because she lost her magical powers. And it's just the coolest scene, especially because you have Fortune's theme playing too, which is the sexiest of saxophones.
But she was lucky after all.
Mm-hmm. Also, she got shot in the boob.
Yeah, you let it pass in a series that has like psychics and like mystic shamans with miniguns on their back. Like, you just let something slide in this universe.
But it's a really cool scene, though. Like,
it is. It was a epic scene.
And then, Ocelot runs away, and then Arsenal Gear crashes, and you have, which I always thought, if anyone ever told me, I always tell people, if people ask me, what's your favorite boss fight ever, Joe? I always mention fist fighting the Pope in Assassin's Creed 2.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I always forget you have a sword fight with a president on top of a building in Metal Gear Solid 2, and I completely always, just one thing I always forget that happens.
I enjoyed that boss fight because it actually felt like I was having to exert some skill. There wasn't some trick I was using or anything like that. It was just straight up, can I dodge? It felt the most like a Dark Souls fight of anything in this game. And I was like, oh, this is my bread and butter right here.
My only problem with that is that I hate games that's like, I love games that the final boss encounters are a payoff of what you've learned up to that point. And this is like, okay, you just learned how to sword fight like in-game time 5 minutes ago, in cutscene time like 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then like the last fight is like this. It's the same thing like Uncharted 4, where it's just like, you've killed like 2,000 people. Now here's a sword fight. And I don't know, like the game Lost Planet, it's a weird throwback where it's just like, okay, none of your robots can fly, but now the final boss is like, you're flying, and here's the flight controls, and it's awful. But it is a cool fight, like, and he has like the rocket suit and shit, like throws his arms at you, and
It leaves like the trail of fire behind him.
yeah,
That part's really cool. You can also clearly see the very beginnings of Revengeance starting here too.
Oh yeah.
It's such an absurd like fight, and I was playing this part, and I was like, oh man, I could really go for some Revengeance right now.
Does it have the same mechanic of using the right stick to swing?
Yes.
Yeah, that took a little bit to get used to, but I thought it was pretty neat, pretty innovative, it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Is it for full combat, or is it just when you slow down and do like the slices? I can't remember. I thought it had like the traditional platinum, like heavy, medium, or heavy, light attacks.
It's both. You can use a sword, and then you can take a stance and then use the analog stick to cut. So you can slow down time to use the analog stick and cut, and then you have a medium and heavy attack.
Okay, I think I played the demo and not very far into it because
Wait. Oh, you're talking about Revengeance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't remember that in this game.
Oh no, it was Revengeance. My bad.
Oh, okay. I was like, I had a medium and heavy attack. What?
So now we get to the part that we've all been waiting for. What the fuck's happening?
So my prediction of the ending is I don't got one. I thought I understood it at one time. Like, I always thought everything was VR until you fought Solidus, then you fight Solidus, and then you're just having a conversation with Snake about the nature of the world.
You know, what's weird is I have the same memory too. That's really weird.
Like, the fight takes place after you have a conversation. So in real time, like, Raiden's sitting there, and Solidus is just like pacing back and forth like doing nothing, I guess, while riding, just like, man, I'm on this call and this guy will not stop talking. Just like, I'll fight you in a second. Just like, I'm trying to understand what these people are saying.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I mean, so we are going to get a little political because I have to make some comments. So you have been warned. If you don't want to hear my political comments right now, then skip ahead because I'm
politics in a Metal Gear game.
I had a guy actually on Facebook tell me because I made a political joke in Metroid Samus Returned. I don't remember what it was. I'm assuming it was a vaccine joke or something, but you don't do vaccines.
Yeah.
I don't remember though, but I made some kind of joke and he made a comment about that. So this time I'm actually going to get more into like. So the thing about this is that this game is a lot about, or this ending is a lot about misinformation, about how we're going to get into a world where people are going to control things through misinformation, how they're going to put fake things out there and people are going to believe it and they're going to spread it without realizing they're spreading false information and they're going to see it as fact. Like that's what this whole thing is about, this ending. And when you look at like 2016 and how Trump won the election, that's exactly what happened. There's actually a documentary about the company that was hired to work for the Trump campaign to spread misinformation, but to put it out as memes on Facebook so other people would share it so they didn't break the law technically. They did, and they got arrested and they're in prison. But
Oh my God.
there's a I can't remember what it's called, but there's a whole documentary about this group of people that did this. They got arrested in UK though, but they did it again in UK to an effective election there, and they also did it in Trinidad and some country in Africa. I can't remember the name, but it's TNT, and they did it there and it worked, and that's how they realized that this misinformation campaign will actually work against people, and that's what this whole ending is about. And all I could think of was like, man, he was right.
And Emma somewhat explains that to you too, where it's just like the whole thing is the AI is like, and it's so crazy to go back and listen to this where they're just talking about like there's going to be so much digital information that it can't be filtered out, and that's like the GWAI, which is the core of Arsenal Gear, which is this new Metal Gear, but it's really just like a server bank. It's not really like the traditional Metal Gear where it's just like a thing with rockets and lasers. It's just like a giant thing of servers where it says like, there's this many letters in the alphabet. Like, how do you know there's this many letters in the alphabet? What if there was 28, but then someone edited out the last two? And it's kind of like a little bit pretentious, but you're just like, yeah, maybe.
But honestly, for a video game in 2001, it's pretty deep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, with the same month, it's just like Jack and Daxter, and it's just like, oh, go do this, and I'll give you a power cell, and then it's just like this, where it's just like, yeah, Twitter's coming, and it's going to ruin your life.
But it's so true. Like everything, not Twitter ruined my life, but that like everything of like this misinformation and how people. I remember back in, I think it was probably 2018 or so, where we had somebody move into our apartment building we were living at the time, and this guy's like, "Oh, I only get my news from YouTube. I don't trust Fox or any of those people. I only trust YouTube." And I'm like, "What the fuck?" But it's a real thing. Like it's people who trust all this misinformation.
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
I only trust the news if it has a sponsorship by Squarespace and HelloFresh.
It's like, I mean, why would you like? I mean, I get it. Like, the news is always, usually negative stuff, and they do at times expand things because again, audience and TV, but still, I'm not going to trust some guy on YouTube who's screaming at top how long he's going, Metal Gear is real, there's a real Rex. There might be, but still I'm not going to believe that whole thing.
Yeah. I saw the president fighting a guy on top of a building in New York
in a super suit that made him Jack somehow.
No one will believe you.
But it's just something that's always stuck with me. And it's something that really hit me this playthrough. I didn't really watch. I watched videos about Metal Gear Solid 2 after I beat this game because I couldn't bear to watch some of the cutscenes near the end because I just was done. And that's when it kind of brought that all up. And the guy was showing Reddit things. This is from 2000, earlier in 2000s. I'm like, yeah, he's right. And I really just kept thinking about the 2016 election.
Yeah, it's kind of seated. Even thinking about that election compared to what happened here, because I can't remember the year. I'm trying to remember the actual years. I think Metal Gear Solid came out in 1998, but it's set in 2001,
something like that,
or something like that. So this takes place in 2007, 2008, where you have a conversation. Yeah, 2009, right? And you have a conversation with the president who said I was a nobody, but then these guys decided I'm going to be president, so they made me president. Democracy is just a big show put on by these people who are controlling everything from the background. And then at the end, essentially what happens, because I mean, it's so hard to explain. Like, you're just talking to two people who are an AI that are dying, and they're talking about how they are made from the primordial soup of the Big Bang or some such nonsense.
Yeah.
I can't believe Revolver Ocelot shot George Bush in the chest.
Oh, also the movie I was talking about, documentary, it's called The Great Hack on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it is a real thing, and it talks about the Cambridge Analytica, the company he hired that helped him win the election. Like, watch it. I don't care what your affiliation is. Like, it's very, very interesting. I'm more interested in me because I'm not a Trump. But I think this is a very good documentary, and it brought up a lot of good points, and it does have lots of facts showing like what this company did, and the fact that they all got arrested, I think, is safe to say they broke the law. So, I mean, some people are like, oh, they were arrested because they were heroes. Yeah, okay.
There's also a really weird talk, which I think is interesting, about how leaving a legacy, and that part I thought was a little bit interesting because it's kind of true. A lot of people always think oh, in order to leave a legacy, you have to have a kid, and it's not just that. Like, you could always leave a legacy doing something amazing or trying to help people or even just getting your name out there. But
like recording a podcast?
Yeah, but don't think it's just leaving a legacy is just, oh, I popped out a kid. You're my legacy, dummy. Just go out there. Because then you have what the whole point of this entire series is. One man should not have 3 kids.
Well, I mean, these were created without his consent either. And that's the thing that I think Solidus brings up, where it's like we are genetically engineered with the ability we can't have children. We're sterile, and that's probably for the best. And so it's all about leaving something behind. And yeah, the whole monologue by kind of Snake at the end, where he's talking to the audience, is it's I don't know, it's kind of weird because I guess that's what they're trying to say, because this game says a lot, and it's hard to sum it up by his thing where you're teaching the future generation things through books and songs, and these are the things you'll pass along.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It just really hit me more this time than ever before.
And then Snake teleports away, and then Rose shows up, and you're not entirely sure if this entire scene is happening. And then there's a baby, and then they tease what the original plot for Revengeance was supposed to be, which was originally in Revengeance you were supposed to go save
Sunny.
Yeah, you were supposed to go save Sunny, and that was when Raiden was supposed to get his first robot upgrades, but they changed that for some reason, which is fine. I love the plot of Revengeance now anyways. It's hilarious. But
yes, it is.
Yeah, there's the whole explanation of, well, we're having a baby, and he's like, yeah, but we should teach the baby things just so it's just not our baby. And then you take off your dog tags, which, put in whatever dumb name you put.
My name was mine.
Oh, I put my fake name.
Yeah, I put Karuseta.
I put Lone. My screen name's always been Lone Dragon for some reason. A Final Fantasy 11 screen name.
I remember back in the day when this game came out, people really weren't sure if that scene happened, and it was really funny.
Oh, and then the very last thing, if you stay for the credits, they're like, I got the name of the 12 Patriot. Oh, what are they? Well, that's the thing. They're all dead 100 years ago.
Oh my god.
And stuff about one of them is your biggest contributor too, was a thing.
And that's not paid off for 7 years.
So is it paid off in Metal Gear Solid 4 then?
Yeah.
Kind of.
No, it is. They explain who the current Patriots are in 4, and it's actually a really good twist.
Yeah, well, I guess they do talk about it in 3, so that just being.
And Peace Walker, they go more into it.
Oh, do they? I never played Peace Walker.
I haven't. I played parts of it, but I have watched a lot of story about Metal Gear because I love Metal Gear story, and I think they are mentioned in Peace Walker. I think they're mentioned in 3 in the very end. 0 has something to do with it, if I remember correctly.
Well, yeah, because 3 is all about Volgan has the philosopher's legacy, because it was something.
It's way too much money.
Was it World War I or 2? Where all these
World War II.
Okay, it was 2. Okay, where
China, Britain, and America.
Yeah, and then Eva is a secret agent for the Chinese who was trying to get it for them. And Ocelot is who you were supposed to meet up with the entire time.
Ocelot was Adam.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Ademska.
I mean, this is also a game that came out so long ago. I'm like, man, I don't feel bad spoiling something from 2001 anymore.
It's so,
Game is over
it's so
20 years old.
convoluted. Like, if you spoil it right now, no one will be able to remember.
It won't make any sense if you haven't played the game anyway.
Exactly. That ending, I'm just like, I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it because it felt so ambiguous. I was just like, I'm not certain what happened in this game. And I appreciate that on an artistic level.
Oh, and I think we should go on. Any last things you want to say before we go on to comments, memories, or questions?
I have a memory. I actually found one before the show because we were talking about goofy Metal Gear Solid names. And when I was home last year, I found a notebook I had from high school, and I wrote down a bunch of names from the online Metal Gear Solid name generator from 1998. Apparently, my name is Invisible Bass.
Invisible Bass.
Which would have been my Foxhound name. We also have Crossbow Caribou and Bayonet Otter, among many others.
Otter sounds awesome.
I was just looking through my notes real fast. I one thing I had noted was the credits, the voice actors.
Yes.
So I just Emma is Jennifer Hale, who is FemShep in the Mass Effect series. She's the voice of if you play a female Shepard, which I think is the canonical Shepard is the female Shepard.
And Naomi.
Yeah, she's Naomi in Metal Gear Solid 1 and 4. And then Vamp was Phil Lamar.
Yes, Samurai Jack.
So I thought that was kind of neat. I noted those two names as like two voice actor names I recognized.
No, they're good actors too.
Yeah.
Phil Lamar, I remember him being in this.
And Vanessa Marshall is also, she was Olga, and she's gone on to do like, oh God, Star Wars Rebels. I can't remember her name. Not Sabine, the other one.
The Twilight?
Hera.
Reverse fact, have any of y'all seen Guyver?
I saw it on TV once, and I know it's Guyver 2 that has David Hayter. Guyver 1 has Mark Hamill.
No, Guyver 1 has David Hayter, and he fights Mark Hamill that turns into a giant cockroach.
What the fuck?
Yeah, go watch those movies. They're awesome.
I didn't think he was in the first one. I knew he was in the second one.
It's one of those. It's the one with David Hayter is the one where Mark Hamill turns into a giant roach.
I got nothing.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay. I'm out. Okay, so you have a bunch of questions to read, so I'm going to start with that. First, from I watched the entire Overblood Super Replay group. I can't read everything. I got a lot of comments from all the different groups, but I'm going to read a few from each group because I should. First one from Randolph Sparks. One of the most vivid gaming memories I have in my whole life is of playing this game all night. I got to Arsenal Gear at about 3 a.m. Sound familiar? So I was starting to get a little tired, and all the ensuing madness just completely shattered my mind. It was like a psychedelic trip without any drugs whatsoever. The sun came up as the credits rolled, and despite my exhaustion, my brain was on fire trying to process what I just experienced. My utter adoration of this game has only increased with time, especially because of how eerily present it was. Alternative facts, the collapse of consensus on truth itself, social media bubbles shaping our perception of reality. This game was directly tackling all these things in 2001. This game is the equivalent of the maniac, raving street preacher who turned out to be a true prophet.
Yeah, that is true.
He's right, though. Like, that's what I'm saying.
That was spot on.
And from Paul Rotliff, I'm sad we'll never see another hidden twist like the Raiden switch again. Game marketing media would never, ever let it happen again.
Yeah.
It would be leaked, and games of this size are way too... I mean, there's good games coming out, but a lot of them are heavily focus tested and watered down to like all the people are going to like this, like you're never going to get.
Plus, I think games are more expensive than they were at this time.
I mean, you definitely will still have indie games pull crazy stuff, I think, but yeah, you never have like a AAA game be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
From Tom Drake, this game was years ahead of its time. Hell, I'd argue that it's still predicting current events. Metal Gear Solid 2 is far and away the best game in the franchise. From themes to gameplay to story beats to man, it's just great. We'll never get a game like this again. And from AJ Gonzalez, I need scissors, 61. I love that dumb comment when it comes up in here. When the Colonel says that. All right. And from the second group, Metal Gear Solid Outer Heaven. I got way more than I expected, but I'm going to read a couple. Spencer Moore. I love Metal Gear Solid 2. My love for Metal Gear Solid 1 was so great that when this came out, I was kind of displeased that I had to play as Raiden. And soon after, I ended up adoring Solid Snake, a support character for the plot. Now, looking back, it's amazing how Kojima predicted the future with this title. I'll be playing it again soon as well. From Anthony Martin, the dog tag hunt was great. I spent 3 weeks on extreme hunting dog tags and missed one. I was devastated. I know how that is. Me and my buddy went through trying to get all the dog tags, and we had a few that we just could not get.
Yeah, that's rough.
They're hard. They're
Yeah.
I remember they only missed like one or two because there's a few really difficult ones on some higher difficulties that you wouldn't even think to look for. From Jacob P. First time I played, I got to ride and it took me 10 minutes to realize it wasn't Snake. I didn't play again for like 5 years later. From George Bobadilla, this is true. Play it once and never played it again. Not bad, real good, but it was a meme of the first one. It is. It is. I mean, the meant of it.
It's meant to be, yeah. I mean,
and last one from this group I'm going to read. Or two I'm going to read. From Dan Page, I think we're playing it now. You will see how relevant it is. Oh, yeah. More than I expected after 2016. From Timothy Hinton, so excited to play another game as Snake. In quotations. So many people were so upset. And from Metal Gear Solid fan group, let's see what we got. We got a lot, so I can't read them all. From Louis Emery, EE is so annoying.
Oh, she's not bad.
It didn't bother me this time.
She's no Rose.
I liked her.
From George Maladano, just the attention to detail. I remember being wowed by the wet shoe prints or coughing when being out in the rain, shooting seagulls, and looking for sexy girl posters, you name it. Which we had not mentioned. But yeah, I forgot you can shoot seagulls too, and Rose will yell at you if you do it too much.
Yeah, it's bonkers. Like the enemy AI too, where it's just like if you trank people and like they don't check in, then people will like, why haven't you checked in? And then guards will come in. Like it's kind of insane how like well tuned like everything is and how advanced it was.
We didn't really talk about that, but it really is. Like I love you can shoot someone in the head of a trank and they fall down immediately. Hit them in the chest and it'll be a few seconds. Hit them in the arm and it's longer and all that kind of stuff.
If you hit him in the heart, it's instant also.
Oh, is it?
Oh, really? Yeah, I was
always going for headshots. Anytime
Me too, but the heart is instantaneous.
But the head, it was an accident.
Did any of y'all step on bird poop?
Yes.
I have in the past. We got peed on. That guy pees for a long time.
Yeah, that guy pees.
Oh, I completely forgot too. There's an Easter egg when you're listening to Solidus and Ocelot hash it out. If you go either completely left or completely right, you can totally hear Johnny taking a huge poop.
Oh, I never realized Johnny's in this game until
Johnny's in this game.
Yeah, from Metal Gear Solid 1, and he's also in 4.
Oh yeah, he's in 4.
He's Meryl's boyfriend.
Husband.
Yeah. Oh, they're married? Okay, I couldn't remember.
They get married at the end.
Spoilers.
Okay. And from Alejandro Miza, this game is unbelievable. I still think about it every day. It shattered the bar when it comes to deep stories in gaming. Yeah.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Like it's silly, but it's doing something, you know?
I agree with this one. From David Donghan, good game, but I always love Metal Gear Solid 3 way more.
Mm-hmm.
From Michael O'Grady, kept you waiting, huh? All right. From Rob Hines, such a good game. Was disappointed we only got Snake for the tank chapter, but still thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, that was a thing that was... Oh, here's a good one. From Luke Whitfield, we hadn't mentioned. If you didn't shit yourself when Peter Stillman's dead body floats out of the door, then you are a fucking liar, and I won't let anyone tell me otherwise.
Yeah. That's funny.
And that's... it's actually something that I just came to my mind that like we never touched on how this game got a director's cut of sorts.
Oh.
And it kind of addressed the whole you can't play Snake issue. I was kind of bummed is that like a year after it was on Xbox Original. It was the first time in Metal Gear. Well, this is the first Xbox, and they had Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance. Subsistence was 3.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was skateboarding minigame where you could shred on the big shell.
Yes.
And they had the Snake chapters, and it was kind of making up for people being bummed. I really love when, like in Resident Evil 4, for example, they put out the PS2 version, and you played the Ada Wong missions, and it was what Ada was doing while Leon was in the game, and I thought that's what the Snake Tales were going to be. It was going to be like, oh, while Raiden was over here, like... Or while Ryan was dealing with the bombs in one side, you were going to play as Snake doing the bombs in the other, but it was really just kind of like missions with a teeny bit of context of, okay, now Snake has to do this.
No, that would be neat to see like what was Snake up to throughout this game.
Yeah, it would have been. I don't even remember what you're talking about, and I have Substance.
Yeah, it's called like Snake Tales. It's just like these missions where you're on the big shell as Snake, but I think it's just like a few sentences of text being like, Snake has to go do this, and you get to play as Snake in the big shell because everyone complained about how Raiden took over. And yeah, again, I just thought it was going to be like a cool filling in the blanks thing, but it was just kind of like VR missions, but just using the assets of the game. And then there was like, Konami had a skateboarding game called Evolution Skateboarding or something, and then they just made it with Metal Gear characters. As why not?
I know what you're talking about. I remember playing it once or twice. I didn't stick around, but I remember trying it.
Also, really weird how this game confirms the VR missions are canon.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, though. VR missions is a cool thing for what it is. All right, I got a few more I'm going to read from this group. From Joe Rodriguez, played and beat the whole game without a memory card. My pops was pissed because he thought the original PS1 memory card would work with PS2 games, and that we played for 14 hours.
Oh, God.
From Pierre Libert, it's very good and probably the most Kojima game in the series. Also aged the best out of the original 3, in my opinion. I disagree with that.
Debatable.
From Adrian Thompson, brilliant game and meeting Vamp for the first time. Also Olga pretending to be Greyfox.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, from Emil M. My first Metal Gear, my favorite in terms of themes. Yeah, it does have it's a very different theme.
Wow, imagine playing this having no context to the first Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the last one from this group, and I got one more group. From Samuel Sonoing. My first touch with Metal Gear Solid 2 was when I was in a game store. It was on a tester console, and I tried it out. I was 7 or 8, so I had no idea what I was supposed to do, but I was very intrigued. I actually didn't even know what game it was. Then later in my teens, when I got into Metal Gear Solid, I also bought Metal Gear Solid 2, played it, and was like impressed, even though the game had years in it, and still impressed with it, and play it again every once in a while amongst the other MGS games. Yeah, this game still good. And last group, I don't have as many to read, from the official Laser Time community. First one from Tom Pollock. I love trying to get non-lethal takedowns. I'll have the collection on Xbox. May have to download and play it again soon. All right, from Charles Ogan. I hated this game. This is the one where Solid Snake wasn't Solid Snake. So edgy. And we didn't talk about this, but I forgot about this, but I want to mention this from William Dawson. I remember doing all the pull-ups in the tanker level to upgrade the grip to max. It really burnt me out, and I didn't end up getting too far in the game after collecting dog tags and being non-lethal for the longest time.
Yeah, you could do the pull-up thing. I know you can do it in Twin Snakes. Could you do it in the original Metal Gear Solid also?
No, that was a new thing for this then.
Yeah, because when I played Twin Snakes for this podcast, I did that. Or I tried. I got bored with it.
From Cody Smith, I think I played a Metal Gear once. I'm not one for sneaking, but I do love me some 20-hour cutscenes. From Justin Johnson, the greatest demo disc of all time. My favorite Metal Gear Solid is still Snake Gear, but this one is a close second. All right, and last one I'm going to read from Eric Yakeel. I absolutely adored this game. Metal Gear Solid defined my childhood. I lost countless hours to 1, 2, and 3. I know fans are pretty well split on this character because of Raiden. But when I played this, I wasn't about to care. I was just happy to have more Metal Gear Solid. When I got older and got my head around the story of the game and why Kojima made the choices he did, I liked 2 even more. Not to mention the scores for those 3 games absolutely fucking honk. I just bought them all on eBay for a few months back. Okay. I think we should go to Shelf Stacker Box. And Kerry, why don't you go first?
Yeah, it'll go on the shelf for me. I mean, I doubt that I'll ever actually replay it, but I could see doing it. I really enjoyed it a lot. I think probably skip the cutscenes next time. I think I've got it this time. I think I've got it.
That's how to play this game after that. What about you, Joe?
Shelf. Hey, you want to see me play Metal Gear Solid the entire series? A year later, hey, you want to see me do it again?
Oh, hey, we keep doing it on the show.
Yeah, I love Metal Gear.
4 will be at some point. I don't know when.
You can always just do, which I don't know if y'all knew, if 4 is almost physically impossible to find, when you beat 4 originally, you can unlock the cutscene mode, which is you just watching the entire game, and it kind of shows clips from every boss fight, and it's just 8 hours long, and I'm pretty sure it's uploaded somewhere.
I have a copy of 4.
Yeah, me too. I have like my original collector's edition that I bought day one.
I never had a PS3.
I got a PS3 for Metal Gear Solid 4.
It came with 4
If
when
you
I
have
bought
me
it.
back for Metal Gear Solid 4, I will unashamedly pirate it and play it on my computer.
Same.
There's nothing to be ashamed about, especially with that game when Konami won't re-release it and for some reason in any shape or form.
I'd buy it if they would let me.
It was on PSN now.
It is not. I don't
Not anymore.
Yeah.
It's one series that really should be available on PC. And I know porting is not that simple, but I feel like it's just they don't give a shit. So it's just, that's how they are. Hey, Metal Gear survives on Steam. I want to play that one day.
I played some of it. If you play it, Mike, you have to like invite like 2 or 3 other people because that game is physically impossible single player.
Oh, it's not made for single player.
It really isn't. You have like there's single player missions, and then there's like at least 3/4 of the missions like, oh, you can invite people, because I know there's one where it's like, oh, you have to go to this area and defend the machine and keep the zombies away. And it's easier if you invite people, and I tried doing it by myself, and I couldn't.
Is that
One day.
that's the one that after Kojima left?
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah.
And that's the last Metal Gear game we got.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Japan will crack down on pachinko parlors again, and Konami will need to do something to make money.
I just want Konami to
sell
sell their
Castlevania
franchises.
NFTs for $150,000.
Don't say that.
Oh, Blair, what about you? Shelf, stack, or box?
Definitely a shelf. This is a game you really have to be in the mood to play. It's not something that if you kind of are halfway in, you're just going to drop it. But I've been a fan of this since it came out. I've always loved and appreciated how weird it is. I think that Snake Eater kind of is the best Metal Gear. Can't remember really 4 that much, but like I really loved how this is just such a weird game, and like it's come from an era when a AAA game from a major publisher would allow that to happen, and it's kind of sad to think that you might not get stuff like that again, and just great single player 10-hour games or 15-hour games. And even if you don't like stealth, like, I mean, you can brute force your way through this too. This isn't as punishing as, say, a Splinter Cell where it's like you get seen start over. Like, if you play an easy, very easy, I mean, this is essentially a puzzle game in a lot of respects, where it's like, here's your room, here's the cones, avoid the cones, figure out how to get around. So even if you have an aversion to stealth, like, I think you can get through this.
Yeah, even on normal, like near the end, I was just like, all right, I need to get this. I need to finish this. And I pull out the M4 and just, the M4, or I guess that's what it was, the assault rifle you have.
Yeah.
You have like that, and you have to knock off AK. And between the two of those, you can just run and gun if you have to.
That's how I played part of it at times. When I get irritated with this game, I'll just run through and just start shooting everybody. Oh, and for me, I'm actually going to put this in the box. I didn't enjoy it this playthrough. I wasn't into it. I didn't like the boss fights. I'm like, I had such high excitement to replay this game, and I realized like this isn't even that much fun. If I also wouldn't recommend this to people. I was like, just go play 3. Play 1 or play 3 or play Twin Snakes if you have a GameCube or okay with emulation. Like, I wouldn't recommend this game anymore. It's just not. There's not enough gameplay for me in this. The story is weird as hell, and I know that's part of the game, but it didn't do it for me this playthrough, and I'm really sad.
Yeah.
But that happened. So going to the box. But I'm glad we replayed it.
I feel that. I really enjoyed it, but I think honestly, I probably will never actually replay this. To be totally truthful, I don't see it happening. It's possible.
It's a beautiful game, but
no, you do the simple thing. You sit here and you think, man, I really like Metal Gear, and then you play 1 and you're like, oh man, I really liked 1. Let me play 2, and then you go, oh yeah, 2 wasn't that good. And then you play 3 and you watch the scene where all the what are they called in 3? Not like this is Dead Cell.
Cobra,
the Cobra unit. And then you watch the scene with the Cobra unit and you're like, oh man, this is really cool. And then you remember, oh yeah, all the equipment sucks. And then you want to play 4, and then 4 is like, oh yeah, 4 is hard to find, and you're old man Snake, and it's just bad, and there's a monkey that wears a diaper. And then you're like, oh, I might as well play, what is it called? Peace Walker, and I've never played Peace Walker.
It's Monster Hunter Metal Gear.
Yeah, I know, but it explains a lot of funny stuff, like Snake's got big junk because of radiation. And then you're like, oh, I might as well play 5. And then you remember, oh yeah, nothing happens in 5 except for one story beat that explains the rest of the story. And then it's the whole Metal Gear series.
I got nothing other than I do want to play 4 again for the show, and I never played 5, and I need to play Peace Walker one day. I really want to play Acid.
Acid's weird.
Acid 2 is really good. Acid 1 is clumsy, and it's funny because I remember like I got a PSP in 2005 because the Mega Man games are coming out, and then the only game I really wanted was Metal Gear, even though I knew it was a card game because I was just so into that series. And then I played it, and I was like, well, this would be good if they changed this, and this, and then that game is Acid 2.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know there was
and Acid 2 has this like cool cell-shaded art style and had this thing called the Solid Eye, where it was this cardboard thing you could put over the PSP, and it was pseudo 3D.
I remember that.
Acid 1 and 2 are going to someday be on this show 100% because I really want to play both of those games. I just haven't done it yet.
I really need to play Peace Walker because I feel like I'm missing at least some of the story. But
You
not
are.
playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also like a Miku, Metal Gear. I heard that's pretty cool.
I played Ground Zeroes. I haven't played the Phantom Pain, but so much of Ground Zeroes is predicated on how much you remember about Peace Walker, and I couldn't remember anything about Peace Walker at all.
Thankfully, I played the opening of Peace Walker, so I was like, hey, look, there's Kazuhasa Miller. Look, there's that really weird chick that has an accent. And then I was like, yeah, pause. And then it's like, okay, I know who these characters are. And then the end of the thing, you're like, oh, okay. So
All right, and if you want to hear more Metal Gear, we did cover Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, episode 138, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, episode 109, Metal Gear Solid, episode 57, Metal Gear Solid 2, or Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, episode 51, and Metal Gear Ghost Babel, episode 7. Oh, and I should introduce what I'm going to be talking about next week. Next week, I'm finally going to play Star Fox Adventure for GameCube.
oh god.
Fox baddies.
I started it last night, and I'm just like, I didn't know I was playing Zelda.
Did you rope CJ into this one? I really hope you roped CJ into this one.
No, I didn't. Is he a big fan of that game?
I think he gave, well, I don't know if it was CJ who gave it the 9 in EGM. Someone gave it a 9. Someone gave it like a 4.5.
No, I didn't even try. I roped him in for Super Mario Brothers 2 that one time. I didn't think about Dino Adventure.
Oh.
But yeah, I've never played it before. So
I watched my friend play through it when it came out. I sat and watched him play like the entire game.
It has a rough opening. It gets okay, but not great.
I
I
thought the
got
opening
to the
was strong.
I think
part
if
where
it had
Zelda got put in the crystal.
if it had just been what it was supposed to be and not had Star Fox associated with it, maybe it would be remembered as like a pretty cool
game.
pretty cool GameCube game. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't help that nothing really happened with Star Fox at that time, but
I mean,
I'll get
Star
to that
Fox
next week.
Assault is awesome.
That was supposed to be on the show, but got taken off because the guy that put it on the show quit the show. So I've not played it yet.
I'll do it, man. I love that game.
Okay, I found one volunteer. All right, because I do want to play it at some point
What game?
because it's always been on my list to play.
Star Fox Assault. It was the Namco developed Star Fox game. It came out in 2005.
Never heard of it.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
has
know that
a
was a thing.
yeah. It's a mixture of like on foot tank and ship missions. It's really cool. It actually somewhat pays off what happens in Star Fox Adventures. So Star Fox Adventures is a little bit essential, but you can also just read the Wikipedia article.
Someday I might actually put it on now, especially because I need to do more Star Fox eventually. There are games that I just need to play someday. So, okay. And Kerry, where can people find you at?
Hey, so I'm Karuseta, Kerooseta on Twitch. You can watch me play lots of Dark Souls games and occasionally repair and modify vintage gaming consoles.
Okay. Oh, and Blair, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Blarcade, and you can find my work at comicbookvideogames.com, which again, celebrating its 10th anniversary, and there you can find a link to my books, The Web of Spider-Man games, and The Avengers and video games.
All right. And if you want to support the show, we have a Patreon. If you're still listening to this on the day it released, you have 1 day to vote in the Patreon poll. If you haven't, for what Tim Burton film we should cover. Right now, Beetlejuice is winning, and I want that to win because I've never seen Beetlejuice. So go sign up for a little dollar. You can help out the show and keep the lights on. And also want to give a shout out to our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Hath Fury. You can follow her on TikTok. You will see a link in the show notes to her TikTok. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We are on YouTube, but only audio, but we're there. If you want audio podcasts on YouTube, it's there for you. And if you can't find any episode and you're wondering where they are, go use Podbean. Everything is on Podbean if you can't find stuff on your normal podcatcher that you're using, Spotify, iTunes, because it only goes so far back. And last thing I want to say is give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who did the MCU with me. He started his own podcast, The Gamer Looks at 4. You definitely go check him out and go listen to his show. And I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Hey.
Wait,
Later.
was this a simulation?
Yes, it was. It was all fake.
Jack!
It was all just a recording.